Happy Tuesday. Good morning. Hope everybody had a good 3-day weekend, or just a good weekend period. Chicago, gotta pray for Chicago. People getting shot. Sad. But other than that, I just want to play these videos as always. Here to wake you guys up, show you what's going on. Cause it's sad. We need help. But other than that, I'm happy. I'm at peace. It's nice and sunny out here in Rockford, just chilling. But other than that, let's get into these videos. What is this? The SPLC is funding racism. They probably fight racism, but they funding racism. The Ku Klux Klan. Oh, it's crazy. But let's continue. Let's get into it.
About dangerous rhetoric always seem to have a business model attached to it. That's why this SPLC story is making so many people uncomfortable right now. Because this wasn't some random internet blogger getting exposed. This was one of the most protected organizations in modern politics.
Let's bring in South Carolina Congresswoman Nancy Mace. She is, of course, also running for governor in her state. Congresswoman, it is great to have you here this Memorial Day weekend. Thank you so much. To explain to me, what do you believe is the single most egregious act carried out by the SPLC among many accusations?
Well, first of all, I want to thank our veterans for their service this Memorial Day weekend. And then to answer your question, literally the SPLC, the left, it is one giant grift. We now know that they were funding racism, paying for racism, grifting off of racism. It was one giant grift, I believe, in concert with the Democrats and the Biden administration. And they were going after Christians. They were going after American patriots, American citizens, making this country more divisive than it's ever been because of their hatred. And they need to be held account. They should probably all be sitting in prison. And I look forward to Jim Jordan getting to the bottom of this. And if the head of the SPLC will not show up on his own, he needs to be subpoenaed, given a date, and he should show up or he should be behind bars.
And is it fair to say, Congresswoman, that the SPLC was stoking hatred almost to justify their own existence as an organization supposedly fighting hatred?
Good morning.
Oh, 100%. They were funding it. That was the sole purpose of their existence. If they don't have, if they can't portray people as racist, they don't have a reason to exist.
Good morning. Good morning. Hope everybody had a good weekend. Ate good, with friends and family. I know I did. Yep. So let's continue with this SPLC bill shit. They bogus as hell.
Wrong. This is illegal, and every single one of them should go to jail.
See, this is why people are paying attention. Not because Nancy Mace says something mean on television, but because the accusation completely flips the moral image the organizations built for themselves. You spent years acting like you were the firewall, if you will, against hate, while allegedly moving money around behind the scenes to people tied to the exact same ugliness you claim to be fighting. That's not activism. That's emotional stock market behavior. Fear goes up, donations go up, division goes up, influence goes up. And the left created an environment where asking questions about any of this instantly gets you labeled as dangerous. That strategy worked for a long time too, until people started noticing the people screaming unity that allowed to somehow profit every time Americans hate each other even more. I swear, honestly, this next clip gets really dangerous.
People often ask me, why do I feel comfortable supporting a party that attracts racist?
Good morning, Matt. Yeah, they need to be in handcuffs soon, man, because all this talking and no show. We need to start seeing some showing, for real. That's what we voted for. Get this shit done. Lock these people up.
Foundation built upon racism.
Morning, Matt.
And has a history that is closely aligned with racism or currently supporting racist ideology. My question to this is always unequivocally this one response, and it often upsets people. But here's the thing. I don't support the Democratic Party, which is the party that is built upon racism, that has a history adjacent to racist ideology and is a hub for racists across the country. That is why I do not support the Democratic Party. It is the party of Jim Crow. It created the Jim Crow laws. It is the party that founded the KKK. It is the party that is behind the Trail of Tears. It is the party behind the mass genocide of Black babies all across the country, which was coordinated by Margaret Sanger and Planned Parenthood. The party of redlining here in Chicago, which caused Black people to be cast out of neighborhoods and communities all across the city, and to this day is responsible for so much marginalization and damage to Black communities across Chicago. It is the party that ran and fled neighborhoods all across the city when they saw one Black person move in. It is still the party to this day that if you go into some of these just aggressively Democratic neighborhoods across Chicagoland that are lit where a lot of white Democrats live, it is still the party to this day that will look at you like you don't belong there and will call the cops on you the moment you step foot in those communities. So no, I do not support a party that is rooted in racism. I do not support a party that founded the KKK. I do not support a party that still to this day sees Black people as inferior and tells you with every policy they create. That is why all of their policy framework is always built upon welfare, because they believe that welfare is the only thing that Black Americans are entitled to. It is the only thing they are willing to give people of color. It is the only time they even allow Black representatives in Congress to really speak up. If it's not about welfare and voting rights, do you really hear from Black Democrats? You don't. Because that is what the Democratic Party thinks of Black people, and that is why I will never support the Democratic Party. I hope that this helps.
Extra bright, I want y'all to see this. The copyright gon' come crazy. So I had to stop it right there. No, let me stop. But see, why this clip hits different? Because she's not talking like somebody trying to win approval right here. She's talking like somebody that got tired of pretending certain conversations weren't allowed. And whether people agree with
the Wolverines, welcome to the chat.
That's not even the biggest
Good
story.
morning.
The biggest story is the political intimidation isn't working the same anymore. For years, the easiest way to shut down a Black person politically was actually pretty simple. Call him a sellout. Just call him confused and manipulated. And boom! Conversation over. But now, people are starting to ask something much more dangerous than anger. They're asking follow-up questions. That changes everything, because once voters, emotionally detached from political branding, I want to say branding so bad, political branding, they start looking directly at results, not the slogans or the hashtags, not celebrity speeches, results. And that's exactly where this next clip goes.
1970s, we voted for the Democratic Party and we saw no change. Okay, you look at North Philadelphia, a great example of it. You had factories over there. There were people that had jobs, and then the jobs left. And then what did the Democrats do? Did they ever bring more jobs? No. Crime went up. People got locked up.
Brian, good morning.
And it got worse. We had more of our young men growing up in homes with no fathers and everything else. So people, I think, really got tired of being lied to. 1970s,
Exactly.
we voted for the Democratic Party.
Exactly. See, this right here is the kind of clip that cable news avoids like it's radioactive, because it cuts through the polished language. The man didn't sound ideological. He sounded exhausted. We've been seeing a lot of that lately. And honestly, that's what a lot of Americans sound like right now. Not even angry anymore, just worn down from hearing the same speeches while neighborhoods keeps collapsing in real time, brother.
Dark Angel, good morning.
You got crime, families fractured, schools failing. But somehow every election cycle, the solution is always another emotional campaign. It's an emotional campaign commercial and another celebrity telling you democracy is ended. That's how they usually market it. At some point, I'm telling you, people naturally start asking, okay, but what actually improved?
What has it?
And once that question enters the room consistently, political loyalty, man, that thing gets shaky. Now, this clip right here, clip number 4, is where the conversation gets even more uncomfortable for the establishment.
Look at how I started changing my life. I looked at politics got a large part of the decisions that I was making in life, the man that I wanted to become. And you look at the policies put in there. And so if you're talking about the 1964, 65 civil rights movement, if you talk about what was it attended and how it was co-opt or whatever into being something totally different. So when LBJ signed the Great Society Act into law or whatever, you know, he pretty much got our men out the house, because if you want to get welfare, food stamps, a man can't be in the house because you're making too much money. So women were now dependent or married to the government now. If you're doing all of this, you're breaking down the black culture or whatever. It's a lot of different reasons. There's a lot of different policies. The reason why we want to, you know, be our community identifies or always votes for the Democrats, but we don't receive anything for them. If you ask them, well, you're so mad about Trump, you're so hateful to the Republicans that you don't give a chance to. What do you like about your party? What have they given you? But they replaced your vote. They brought, you know, 20, 30 million illegal immigrants in here to replace your jobs, undercut your wages. What do you get for voting Democrat?
Nothing.
A bunch of white man bad. White man is the reason why we're suffering.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a lot of different political reasons over the years, but if you learn the real history over time, you know, it was the Republicans that fought for our right to vote. Our 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, it came for Republicans. The Enforcement Act came from a Republican president, Ulysses S. Grant. You know, if you look, the Republicans always have fought for the black community.
That's right. The reason why clips like this travel so fast online is because people can feel when somebody get robbed at their opinion through life experience instead of social pressure. That's why even people who disagree will still sit there and listen. One thing he said stood out real heavy to me. Maybe to you too. He said, politics affected the kind of man I wanted to become. Most political conversations never ever touch that layer. Definitely not anymore. Most political conversations, yeah, I don't even repeat it. Everything now is just outrage theater, team sports, visual, viral clips, rage addiction. But the deeper question is, what type of citizen does your worldview produce? Dependent? Hopeless? Bitter? Strong, maybe? I don't know. Capable, responsible. I can go on. That conversation terrifies modern political.
Yes, it will, man.
Modern politicians, rather, because it moves power away from emotional manipulation and back towards personal accountability. And once accountability enters the conversation, a lot of narrative starts losing their oxygen, which leads perfectly into this very last clip. I got some severe black fatigue.
Slavery was so bad, I don't even know how the fuck we still cool white people right now. On God, I don't. That shit was terrible. How the fuck is we cool with white people? That shit is crazy.
First of all, slavery ended 160 years ago. You weren't there, your parents weren't there, shit, your grandparents weren't there. But you sound like you just clocked out of the cotton field yesterday. And here's the part that your bitter black mama ain't telling you. Over 600,000 people literally died in the war to end slavery, mostly white men. They didn't post a hashtag or make a TikTok documentary. They bled out in the mud so that this country could move forward. How is it that other groups survived genocide, exile, dictators, Holocaust, but you don't see them walking around blaming white people? We sit down and we watch a damn TikTok documentary and all of a sudden we all time traveling victims. Here's the truth that you don't want to hear. You're not angry at slavery. You're not angry at white people. You're angry at your own fucking life. But blaming white people is easier than fixing your credit. You out here mad at people who never owned a slave, but just gonna simply ignore the people that's scamming you, beating you up, robbing you, shooting at you. Make it make sense. I mean, can you
Make it
imagine
make
white people saying,
sense.
I don't even know why we're still cool with them. They don't got time for that. They working, they paying their bills, they raising families, they minding their business. That's why I say we stop fucking teaching that slavery shit in school, man. I don't want to hear that shit. You're keeping the beef alive. So if you really want to honor your ancestors, stop crying about slavery that you never experienced and start being the free man that they prayed for you to be.
Yeah, this clip is going to make some people furious. Not because it's hateful, but because it rejects permanent emotional captivity. And that's the conversation society honestly doesn't know how to handle anymore, because we built entire media ecosystems where pain is constantly recycled for engagement. Not healed, not solved, recycled. Some people have become professionally addicted to keeping old wounds politically fresh forever. And the second somebody says, okay, But how long do we stay mentally parked here? All hell breaks loose. That's why these clips matter together. Not because they perfectly agree on every point, but because they all point towards the same shit. People are becoming harder to emotionally program, especially when daily life keeps conflicting with political marketing. That's the part legacy media still doesn't fully understand for whatever reason. This isn't just about left versus right anymore. People are starting to evaluate politics the same way they evaluate bad relationships. Wait, after all these years, why do I feel so drained? That question right there. That question changes countries. And honestly, regardless of where someone lands politically, Americans should be asking harder questions now about media, about organizations, about incentive.
Mayor Jacob Fry of Minneapolis should have to step down after this insensitive post he made this morning at 10:03 a.m. The time is important. So he says, today we remember George Floyd, who had...
I don't care about George Floyd, period. The man was a criminal. 8 years of bullshit. The man never got better in society. The day he died, the day he woke up, took a bogus 20 and put drugs in the system and didn't comply. And now he's not here. And now they want to boost this man up like he's a hero and shit. Hell no. They need to stop doing that shit. Tear all those statues down, all those murals, and get rid of them and burn that shit. The man robbed a woman while she was pregnant. You know, what is that's bogus. Again, the man woke up on that day on bullshit. Period. But let's continue with this. This was relating about.
was unalived by a former Minneapolis police.
Now the cop should have got off of him and showed the world that, hey, he's not complying. But either way it go, George Floyd had drugs in the system, fentanyl.
Officer 6 years ago. That moment changed our city forever. So he didn't make a single post about our fallen service members, the reason that we celebrate Memorial Day. He first woke up and decided he needed to honor George Floyd. What's hilarious about this is he got ratioed in the comments of that George Floyd post because people were very offended by what he said, because he not once mentioned the people that served for this country and made the ultimate
That's
sacrifice.
crazy, Matt.
Until 4 hours ago. He got owned so bad that he decided maybe I should honor our fallen soldiers. So he says Memorial Day is a time to remember the brave service members who gave their lives for our country and the freedoms we enjoy today. Seems like it wasn't super important to you, Jacob Fry, until people reminded you what Memorial Day was actually for.
Right.
Let me ask you, do you think it's appropriate that the first thing he did this morning was woke up and talked about George Floyd rather than our service members?
You're trying to stir up bullshit. That's that insurrection shit right there, stirring up chaos. Anybody think about George Floyd, they want to bring it up. That's crazy.
That our service members actually got a post 4 hours ago. It is now 5:26 on the East Coast.
Boy. So, you had to talk about Democrats receiving backlash for being Democrats, because being a Democrat means basically being somebody who does not believe in common decency, does not believe in common sense, and honors thugs, criminals, gangbangers, people who were net negatives for society, okay, and ignoring those who are actually positive contributors for society, prioritizing them last, okay? And that basically shows up with any issue, right, that you can think about, like, for example, illegal immigration. Who do Democrats prioritize more so than anybody, right? Again, illegals, okay, over the American people. So this story right here is kind of similar in that same vein, as you have Democrats deciding that on Memorial Day, a day where we're supposed to honor and remember those who have fought and died for this country, they're honoring George Floyd instead, right? They're making George Floyd the priority over our fallen service members. Okay, you have woke Mayor Jacob Frey of Minneapolis, Minnesota. He put out a statement today. We remember George Floyd, who was murdered by a former Minneapolis police officer 6 years ago. That moment changed our city forever. Now, keep in mind, this is literally the first post of the day from this guy, right? The first thing that came out of this man's mouth today was not about our fallen soldiers, not about honoring the military and the sacrifices that were made for our freedoms. No. It was about George Floyd, right? It should tell you everything you know about the priorities of the Democrat Party and how tone deaf they are. It forced Minneapolis to confront painful truths about race, policing, inequality, and trust, and demanded inequity and trust, and demanded hard conversations and accountability. Since Floyd's murder, our city has been challenged, not just to say we've changed, but to improve it. We've worked hard to reform policing, strengthen our department, and rebuild trust with neighbors while knowing there is still more work ahead. This anniversary also comes as reconstruction begins at George Floyd Square and work continues on the People's Way. We are committed to honoring this place both as a memorial with global significance and as a neighborhood where people live, work, gather, and heal. This work ahead is bigger than any one moment or administration. The weight of what happened is still with our city 6 years later,
Antifa
and
shit.
the responsibility to keep moving forward together is too. I know we can keep building a Minneapolis that is safer, more accountable, and more worthy of the people who call it home. So again, Democrats woke up today, and the first thing on their mind was George Floyd. Amazing.
Insane.
I have no clue, right, the exact date that George Floyd died, right? I didn't know at all, okay, that this was the day. But I did know it was Memorial Day, right?
Right.
But Democrats, again, they want you to think about George Floyd before you think about those who have fought and died for this country. Amazing.
Think about a drug addict first.
Reminding the woke mayor how George Floyd died, right? He's getting a whole lot of backlash here. Andy No says, it changed your city, state, and my country for the worse. Rioters on your side kill people and did billions in economic damage. And for what? Defunding police policies that have led to more people being killed. Zeke Arkham says, just go ahead and say you hate this country. This is a low-life tweet, even for you. Sarah Field says, you remember a guy who died of an overdose who pointed a gun at a pregnant woman? I remember my best friend who was sniped through the head during the last month of her deployment. This is why we will never find common ground. Yeah, so nobody should be surprised because, again, this was Jacob Frey during George Floyd's funeral. He was bawling his eyes out, right? Move on and crying. Didn't know the guy, didn't know a damn thing about him. But apparently, George Floyd brought him to his knees, right? What happened to him? Just tears flowing, right?
Wow.
Again, it should tell you who these people actually care about. So, yeah, I mean, he's getting massive backlash here. Did you really just post this today? It's Memorial Day, dipshit. You are ideal. Election Wizard says, this is easily one of the worst ratios in recent X history, and there's a very clear reason why. Minneapolis didn't, quote-unquote, change forever. For the better, it got hit with a crime wave, business exodus, and hellish chaos that locals are still living with 6 years later. Yeah, so I want you guys to take a look at this ratio. Again, this is legendary. 30K replies to 3.2 reposts and 8K likes and 5.8 million views. So again, this guy is getting absolutely destroyed for this post. He's getting destroyed so badly that he finally decided to put out a post about Memorial Day, and look at what he had to say. Not much at all, to be honest.
Too late, buddy.
Memorial Day is
Too
a time
late
to remember the brave service members who gave their lives for our country and the freedoms we enjoy today. We owe them and the families who carry their memory forward our deepest gratitude. Yeah. So I want you guys to understand, George Floyd gets an intimate post, long, multiple replies, a whole thread about George Floyd. Memorial Day gets a short caption and a generic, little picture.
Damn.
Okay? Priorities. And it's not just Jacob Frey, it's also the city of Minneapolis. Check this out. 6 years ago, George Floyd murder forced our city to confront painful truths about race, public safety, and inequality. Every May 25th is a reminder of that grief and a renewed call to action to keep pursuing the progress this tragedy catalyzed. We encourage you to gather be with the community and honor George Floyd's life. Today we remember George Floyd. Yeah. So this is how the city of Minneapolis honors George Floyd, right? On Memorial Day. And this is what they had to say about Memorial Day. They posted the same generic picture that Jacob Frey posted, but they didn't even bother to put a caption.
Damn.
So again, George Floyd gets a nice little caption, the first post of the day. Again, it's very intimate, very personalized. It's about the city, right? They put some thought into it, a little bit of effort, you know? But when it comes to Memorial Day, they don't put any effort at all. And they only did it because they got ratio. Look at this. Look at this ratio. You're talking about 6.3K replies to about 600 reposts and only 700K likes, 500,000 views. Yeah, so again, they're getting absolutely destroyed. It is not just the city of Minneapolis and Jacob Frey. It's also Peggy Flanagan, another woke Minnesota Democrat, the lieutenant governor. She says, George Floyd should be alive today on the anniversary of his murder. Our hearts break for his family and community. Nothing will bring George Floyd back to his loved ones, to his little girl, Gianna. But there is work left for us all to do. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Today, I'm thinking about the collective fight for racial justice. In the last year, we have once again seen the Minnesotans are demanding change and a world where everyone is valued, respected, and safe. So,
welcome to the chat. MAGA, we're not crying, bro. Where you coming from? Welcome to the chat. Named Deontay. We're not crying here. You crying. You can leave the chat. The man died on drugs.
Let's see what she had to say about Memorial Day. Right?
Matter of fact.
Didn't really have much to say. She retweeted another account, right? Her official account, where, you know, she put a little post out after her George Floyd post, right? Keep that in mind. Again, the first thing on their mind is George Floyd, right? Not our fallen service members, not the people who actually fought and died, who contributed positively to this country. No. George Floyd, right? That's what's on their mind. Priorities. You even have Cory Booker joining in on action here.
That's how you know it's bullshit.
Shook the conscience of our nation and the world. The collective pain inspired a powerful movement for justice and reform. We must keep pushing until we truly have equal justice for all. Yeah, so that is how Democrats celebrated Memorial Day, or spent Memorial Day. They did that by honoring George Floyd, right? Thinking about George Floyd. This is how a real leader spends his day, again, on Memorial Day. So that's the President of the United States at the Arlington National Cemetery. This is the speech that he gave. Let's take a listen.
At Pointe du Hoc and Busan, the courage of the American warrior has forged a path through every sea and every place that sparked a trail to every corner on the earth. In 250 years, America's heroes have saved more lives, freed more captives, accomplished more good, and spread more hope than any other people at any time in the history of the world. Whole nations, no liberty today. Entire generations, no freedom. Billions and billions of people have been delivered from poverty, tyranny, and oppression. Because of these sacrifices, we honor this day. That's why from Brittany to Sicily, from Panama City to Saipan, from the Netherlands to North Africa to New Zealand, this whole planet is adorned with memorials to America's fallen and to America's greatness, to their courage, carved in marble and engraved in the hearts of all of mankind. We will never forget you. From 1776 to 2026, America has always stood as a great and moral cause. Our warriors are no mere mercenaries. They are guardian angels who stride across the battlefields of history and stand watch over the highest and most beautiful plains the human spirit has ever seen, holding the line between liberty and tyranny, between civilization and barbarism, between good and evil. Wherever the American soldier walks, wherever he fights, wherever he fails, and wherever he falls, he does it for the destiny of a nation like no other. There's never been anybody like you. And for the fate of freedom on this earth, we salute you like nobody has ever been saluted before.
Yeah, so the unfortunate reality is that you do have Democrats saluting George Floyd like we've never seen before. If you listen to Democrats and how they come out and they've honored George Floyd on Memorial Day, that's the first thing they thought about when they woke up this morning. You think that George Floyd died for our country, but I don't believe he did. Again, this is how a real leader conducts himself.
Disgusting from Democrats. Just evil, man. So it's been good versus evil. And now they had to delete it. Now they're getting so much backlash on this. On Memorial Day, ladies and gentlemen, on Memorial Day, you just can't make this up.
See something just said, take a look what happened.
I'm speechless because, it's like we already know, man. I mean, a lot of you are not surprised. Some of you probably expected this, the left, the Democrat Party, the Democrats' official page, official account, certified account on this platform. And I thought I was just like, man, maybe just today they would have just a little bit of heart, a little bit of humanity.
Something.
That we can go the whole day without Trump derangement syndrome, making a sick, evil post to attack the president,
But, you know, I
Right.
knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. They got to score their political points. And they got so much backlash, they had to delete it. They had to remove the post. The Democrat Party, ladies and gentlemen. But before we get into this, I just want to take a moment of silence, man, for our troops, man, the ones who made the ultimate sacrifice, our fallen heroes. We send our love, our condolences. And again, man, shout out, love, salute to the ones who made the ultimate sacrifice. And I know we have a lot of veterans, a lot of amazing people that tune into this show every single day. And I want to just tell you guys that I love y'all, man. And it's one love to the human race.
To all the veterans,
I don't
man.
care what side
Thank you,
you're on.
guys.
I don't care if you voted for the man, if you hate his guts, if you have Trump the Ranger syndrome, if you say that even the hell with politics, I don't care if you're a liberal, conservative, Democrat, Republican, I don't care what your skin color is, I don't care what you look like, where you come from. I do not care. I want to tell you that I love you and I hope that you are having an awesome day, week, month, year of 2026 and the next year and the year after next. We are rooting for America. We're rooting for success, not for things to burn and crash. Today we honor our heroes. No other way around it. And if you feel some other kind of way, if you want to disrespect our troops, our country, the flag, you want to hold up your own flag, then leave.
Get the fuck out.
If you want to see what an actual dictatorship is, an actual king, go over there. Leave. You'll find out real quick what it really is about. But I want to just take a moment of silence, man. Yes, indeed, man. And sorry if I'm looking rough on camera. I really don't care right now. Again, man, God is good, man, and we breathing, and I'm on here with y'all. Y'all on here with me. Hey, it's a blessing, man. So if I look a little rough, y'all, I apologize, man. It's been a long day. Out there in my barbecue sandals. The neighbors were so nice in the neighborhood, man. Bless them. And if they're tuned in right, they might be tuned in. But man, my neighbors are awesome, man.
Barbecue yesterday, man. Got it in, and they was come over and kick it. It was nice turnout. Yep.
Sometimes I do miss the city.
Hope you guys had a good turnout
I come
too.
back out here and I say, God, Lee, man, I don't know. I don't know, man. It's peaceful out here. The dollar store up the street. The dollar store is up the street. It's 5 minutes from the house. We can ride through trails. We can get mud. We can go mudding and just get dirty out here, man, and have fun and breathe. And, we don't got no strict rules or people sending you letters and, crazy strict HOAs and all kind of stuff. Even though we do have like a POA, HOA kind of thing, but it's not strict. But life is completely different, man, out the city, boy, I tell you. It's literally freedom over here, man. I walk down the street, my neighbor has a huge American flag in his yard. I mean, it's a beautiful thing, man. It is beautiful, It is beautiful, man. Multiple neighbors actually have big, tall American flags in their yards, man. It's just beautiful out here. People who just blood, sweat, and tears, keeping it real, didn't make an excuse. They don't have time to blame the orange man, the white man, I tell you, man. But the Democratic Party ought to be ashamed of itself. As they're trending right now. I said, why is the Democrat Party trending right now on the trending tab? And I say, here it is. Just then, the Democrat Party now has deleted their vile and disgusting Memorial Day post, politicizing the death of American heroes against President Trump. Just sick. We honor the American heroes who made the ultimate sacrifice in Trump's war with Iran. It's here forever at the Democrats. Says you disgusting piece of. But here's the post.
Yep.
And as you can see, the Democrats said, today we honor the American heroes who made the ultimate sacrifice in Trump's war with Iran. And they put the faces and the names.
You right, Howard. Welcome to the chat.
And it says, remembering the Americans who have died in Trump's war with Iran, in the big words right here. And this was that full post. Like why? And honestly, this is disrespect. This is a huge spit in the face to their loved ones. Let's just take a step away from attacking the president, because we know that's what they're going to do regardless. They can't wait. Just when you think they'll have a little bit of humanity on this very special, beautiful day, as we remember and honor our American heroes who made the ultimate sacrifice. Just when you think they can have a little bit of humanity, just a little bit, Democrats, a little bit. No, it's not there. And like I say, it's been good versus evil. And this is why y'all have run a lot of people away from this side. The Trump derangement syndrome is ridiculous. And this is a huge spit in the face to these families of their loved ones, man. This is a huge spit in the face, man. But I'm reading through some of these comments. Just when you think you cannot hate Democrats enough, they just keep giving you more reasons to hate them. Absolute vile posts from them, and a sea of disgusting and irrelevant posts from Democrats all day long. So gross. Of course, they choose Memorial Day to be extra vile. I mean, this is just sick. It says Democrats are just not stupid and misinformed. They're generally shitty people. I kept it and will never forget how disgusting at the Democrats page. This is the Democrats page right here, the official page. The Democrats party's page has the Democrats party has become. I mean, just disgusting, man. And as you can see here, I mean, everybody's posting it, talking about it. That they had to delete their post, and it was just sick and disgusting. The official account of the Democratic Party just deleted this post moments ago, and this was 3 hours ago. This is just sick, man. Did you see the disgusting piece by the Democrats? Democrats deleted Memorial Day post that used fallen heroes to attack Trump. Like, just look at this. Is sick, man.
Tasteless.
And it blows me that I have to read this out. Like, this is happening, man. Look at this guy here. This is a shocking disrespect to our heroes. Isn't this that guy that had that Nazi tattoo? But now Maine Democrat Senate candidate Mary Platinum is outright refusing to apologize for calling for a U.S. soldier to be killed by the Taliban.
By the Taliban. Fox News Digital asked Plattner over the weekend if he felt he should apologize for those comments, and here's what he had to say.
I look forward towards the infantry. Any attempt to say that I disrespect veterans is slanderous and offensive.
Do you think you owe him an apology?
Do you know how many of my friends have Purple Hearts? Do you know how many of my friends got wounded?
You don't care about that.
Plattner, who also served as a Marine and Army veteran, has admitted to owning that Reddit account, P Hustle, and making a series of posts under that same username. That comment, as well as posts about something he did in a porta potty, have since been deleted, but were resurfaced in recent months.
Yeah, nothing new, man.
No problem, Howard.
Nothing new, man.
Definitely will, man. I'm 43, so I'm doing my best out here.
This is sick, man. But Emily Miller says, I'm genuinely pleased the Democrats deleted this disrespectful and disgusting post. They can give money to the Gold Star families of these heroes to try to make them. I mean, it's just disgusting, man. You know, and everybody on the internet, even Democrats, even people that are on the left, called out, you know, this account, the Democrats account, the Democrat Party for this post. You know, it's not just people on the right. You know, even people on the left and liberals all over the internet are not for this. You know, and no matter what side you're on, nobody should be like, who thought of this? Like, the people behind this account, you know. But again, they try to score their political points, attack the president any way they can. You know, they don't think it through. And now the post is deleted because they got so much backlash. Unbelievable. Democrats are so far to the left, they deleted this post. Wait, I think that guy was on the side of the post. I'm not even sure, but just disgusting, man. People are it's just good versus evil, man. Yeah, this is that clown with that Nazi tattoo that we just seen. Then he got it covered up or something. The biggest frauds, the biggest hypocrites. Just sick and disgusting, man. Absolute, just a disgrace. I can't even talk right now, man. I got such a bad.
It's time for Lefties Losing It. Here's a blast from the past. Cyndi Lauper has popped her green head up to claim that voter integrity, a measure backed by 84% of Americans, well, apparently it's all about suppressing the vote of women.
Hi, it's me, Cyndi. Don't be fooled. The SAFE Act is not about protecting against voter fraud. It's about voter suppression. Congress is trying to pass the SAFE Act to make it harder to vote, especially for millions of women. First, they come after our right to control our bodies, and now they're coming after our right to vote. So we must stop them. We are half the population. You need to stand up now.
You know, after all these years, I think some of that peroxide has seeped into her brain. Let's go from the ridiculous, not to the sublime, but the substandard. Here is Bruce Springsteen again, ranting and raving like a lunatic about Elon Musk and Donald Trump. He even reads this sad little rant from an auto cue.
The richest men in America have abandoned the world's poorest children to death and disease through the dismantling of U.S. aid. This is no longer on the front page, but children die every day, and this is happening now. We are undermining NATO and the world order that kept us safe and in global peace for 80 years. Our museums are being told to whitewash American history of any unpleasant or inconvenient facts, like the full history of the brutality of slavery.
Oh my gosh.
Elon Musk's response on X, he wrote, Springsteen is, ironically, an America-hating idiot and billionaire hypocrite. Oh yes, Bruce Springsteen is a billionaire. Use your own money for lefty activism, Bruce, not the taxpayers. Now let's check out this amusing AI response. This is really all Bruce deserves. And staying in the music industry, here is socialist, billionaire-hating songstress Billie Eilish, you know, the one who says no one is illegal on stolen land. Here she is indulging in more hypocrisy by launching another commercial venture, pushing her overpriced perfume.
Hi, it's Billie. Your Turn 2 is now available to purchase in-store and online, and I am so very excited for you to have it. Some of my favorite scents are in this one, like pimento berry, vanilla orchid, and cedarwood, and every time I wear it, I feel like I'm right back on stage on tour. I made so many memories wearing Your Turn 2, and I know you'll create your own. Love you.
The left's attempts to rewrite history never fail to appall. Here is the uniquely stupid, or should that be uniquely dishonest? There are no other options. Sonny Hostin. Here, Sonny claims with a straight face that the January 6th riot caused more damage than the BLM riots across the country.
I just think we need to make it clear that there can be no comparison between the Black Lives Matter movement and what we saw on January 6th. I just want to make that clear.
We're about to clap.
Limited,
Oh, they clapped already.
Destruction of property and violence during the uprising.
The truth is, BLM's Summer of Love, the riots, arson, mindless violence and destruction across America caused billions in damage, cost more than 20 lives and saw many more injured. But this is how the media covered what they called fiery but mostly peaceful protests.
I want to be clear in how I characterize this. This is mostly a protest. It is not generally speaking unruly, but fires have been started.
Oh boy. What you are seeing now, these images came and come in stark contrast to what we saw over the course of the daytime hours in Kenosha and into the early evening, which were largely peaceful demonstrations in the face of law enforcement.
Fiery but mostly peaceful. Yes, the media whitewash doesn't change the facts. This is Minneapolis after BLM's Summer of Love. BLM's reign of destruction caused around $2 billion in damage across the country, but so much more harm was inflicted on communities. The killings, the assaults, all in the name of the Marxist BLM and under the false notions that there was a spate of white on black violence, particularly from the police. Let's bring in Sky News contributor Kosha Gator. Kosha, the left have selective amnesia here, or they hope the American people do?
Both, maybe. I don't know. Sonny Hostin sounded a little bit sick in that clip. She should have just stayed home. I'm trying to sell this. Thank goodness for social media, where those clips will be circulating into perpetuity, unless even that's taken away. But people know. The thing is that the whole culture coalesced around that narrative, around BLM. So the media doing these pantomime-style segments where there's literally fire behind them, and they say it's mostly peaceful. Then you had all of corporate America making their logos on LinkedIn black. Remember that? It was all about solidarity.
Everyone posting those black squares
everywhere, like virtue signaling. The pins. You're going out for dinner, and mobs would come up to you and say, Black Lives Matter. You better say it and raise your fist. So all of that was happening, and that helps prop up this narrative. And then on the flip side, of course, J6. We know what happened, and those people were held in jail, pre-trial detention for months and months, and we know how that's
many of them in solitary confinement
for ultimately trespassing, which is what it was compared to this. So the whole world sees that, and despite that, I think the true believers like Sonny will continue till their last breath pushing that narrative.
Well, they compared January 6th to 9/11. I mean, these people are insane. You can't reason with them. If someone is that far gone, I don't even know how you have any sort of a sensible debate with them. Now, it's Memorial Day in America, and President Trump delivered a speech paying tribute to the fallen. Here he is at Arlington National Cemetery.
With reverent hearts, we honor those who fell so that our republic might stand, those who died so that our nation could live, those who gave up their sacred light on earth so that the sublime light of American freedom would shine forever and ever. This Memorial Day, we salute them.
Meanwhile, we've got Democrats paying tribute to George Floyd. Among them, Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, who posted today, "We remember George Floyd, who was murdered by a former Minneapolis police officer 6 years ago. That moment changed our city forever." He then posted another 5 tweets about George Floyd. Kosha, he posted one tweet about Memorial Day, about fallen soldiers.
I think it's going to be Memorial Day 2056, and he will still be posting that. He is really a one-trick pony. He will go down in infamy as the mayor who's crying crocodile tears,
weeping uncontrollably.
He won his re-election as mayor by the skin of his teeth, defeating somebody from the Somali community, which is a whole other issue with Minnesota. So that was kind of funny, maybe the lesser of the two problems. But he knows that he's fallen out of public popularity. That whole act that he did looks incredibly foolish as time goes on, but he seems to be clinging to that, and I think he too will until the bitter end.
But he is still held up, George Floyd, this man with a significant criminal history, as some sort of a hero of the left. They've got statues, they've got, posts like the one Frey put up weren't uncommon today. And amongst a lot of prominent people, he is held up as this hero figure.
He's been mythologized almost, and because of what we talked about, the black squares and the virtue signaling and the pins and all of that, that even as we know, and we can contrast J6 to BLM and other things that we're discussing, that level of mythologization doesn't disappear. So I think forever there will be a faction of society that don't even probably know his background, don't care about any of it, but he sort of is emblematic of what they believe is a systemic injustice in society, and he has earned
The man was arrested 8 times. 8 times the man was arrested. Now, one time he decided to do better in his life. Woke up that morning, once again, I said earlier in the beginning of the video, he woke up with a bogus 20, and they asked the man, hey, man, the 20 bogus. Can you give us, the real money? The man didn't do it. 3 times they asked the man, Floyd, your money bogus. The man refused. They called the cops, and they went from there. The man got arrested 8 times. He ain't died. One time he did better before he died.
There's been so many polls done, research done into the number of police shootings of unarmed black men in America each year, and the figures are just so wildly wrong. People think there were hundreds, some think there were thousands, when
that's right.
There may be 10.
Because these tactics work in terms of warping people's understanding of the facts.
Now, what do you get when a Marxist endorses a dude with a Nazi tattoo? You're getting Bernie Sanders here endorsing Graham Plattner for the Senate. Kosha, the more we learn about this guy, Plattner, the worse it gets. How is he a Democrat candidate?
It is so weird. And Susan Collins, who he's challenging, has always been in a tricky spot because she's a Republican senator in a very blue part of Maine, and she somehow has always managed to win and eke it out. And initially, people thought, okay, her polling is down. This is ripe for the taking. And then just like Tallarico in Texas, the more we learn about the candidates they put forward in something that structurally is advantageous to the Dems.
Subscribe if you guys haven't already. Subscribe. Thank you.
Good for Susan Collins. And the funny thing too is we're in this era now where you can kind of avoid debate and just sort of coast on the party structure and the mechanics in particular states because the country's so divided. But unfortunately for him, he's all over social media, and things he's said and done are coming back to haunt him.
It doesn't seem to be scaring off establishment Democrats. You've got them all backing him, from what I can see. They're not shying away from this character. And it's not just the Nazi tattoo, and I can't believe I'm not saying it's not just the Nazi tattoo. The fact that this man has a Nazi tattoo on his chest is a problem, but shocking things he's said and written, and too many to list here, but everything from commentary about Latin hookers to mocking US servicemen. Here he is asked whether he wants to apologise for saying a Purple Heart recipient didn't deserve to live.
I was wondering if you regret the post about the Purple Heart veteran, if you think you need to apologize to him, what you would say to voters who might be upset by it?
I look forward towards the infantry. Any attempt to say that I disrespect veterans is slanderous and offensive.
Do you think you owe him an apology?
Do you know how many of my friends are Purple Hearts? Do you know how many of my friends got wounded?
Sure, a lot.
Oh, please, I don't care how many tours you did. It is not slanderous or offensive to bring up things you have said or written. And he did say a Purple Heart recipient didn't deserve to live.
Mm-hmm. He was annoyed by the question. He just wanted to put the beers in the back of his Jeep and drive off, you could tell. But I think, your point earlier that the Democrat Party is very loyal and organized. It's a machine. He happens to be the face of the machine in Maine, District 2, and so whether it's Bernie Sanders or the other establishment figures, they're just going to back him no matter what, and he has to just get through a question here and there from a reporter, which he probably will in that fashion, and it will still be a very close race.
Well, that was, I think, Fox News questioning him. Most of the media is just giving him a very sweet run indeed. Now, let's go to this report from the New York Post. They are saying that a woman who had her breasts removed after identifying as non-binary has reached a confidential settlement after suing her mental health providers reportedly for $3.5 million. Camille Kiefel, 36 now, filed a malpractice lawsuit against 2 Oregon therapists whom she alleges inappropriately approved her for the surgery after brief telemedicine sessions, despite a history of mental health issues, including trauma, depression, suicidal ideation, and ADHD. Kosha, this was an adult making this decision, and looks like it's a multi-million-dollar settlement from these reports. The lawsuits involving confused children who've been sent down this path, I mean, they're going to be something else.
They will be. I think so far it's been 20 to 30 or so. So we expect that will accelerate. The Supreme Court had a ruling last year that paved the way a little bit for this, because after they granted rights to the state, somebody was suing how that's actually a violation on discrimination law, and the Supreme Court held it's not, which makes it a little bit easier for more of these to come through. Unfortunately, though, I think just the instrument of lawsuits is slow and costly and time-taking relative to the damage that this industry has done. So even though the lawsuits hopefully will accelerate and change behavior, because that's what we're after ultimately, it may not be as, I hate to say it, but it may not be as fast and as swift.
You don't see class action lawsuits happening, just given how many children have been sent down this path. And for kids, of course, the results are even more horrendous potentially, because they could be left infertile, be left with all sorts of sexual dysfunction. And, they're making these decisions at an age where they can't get a tattoo, they can't drive, but the whole thing is go down this path.
Maybe, and it may not even require every single person being given justice, even though we would hope that. Sometimes it just takes a few to change behavior for those coming forward. The biggest one in the world, in the UK, for Tavistock, there is a class action lawsuit sort of brewing, but they haven't gotten traction yet. There was that one individual plaintiff who did win, that led to the closure of Tavistock, but then it was reversed on appeal. So that's sort of the broader point, that even with this, you're still up against protected interests that are fighting it. But yes, maybe 1 or 2 class action lawsuits will be the watershed moment that this needs.
I think once you have a handful of multi-million-dollar settlements, then you're going to get a very different reaction from the medical fraternity. Now, we've talked plenty about the ballroom. Let's talk about some of President Trump's other works that he's doing around DC, including the Lincoln Memorial Pool. Here's one DC local's take.
I'm going to dox myself because I'm moving, but I've lived near Meridian Hill Park in DC for almost 2 years now, and the water's never been in the pond there. This has never happened before. I was always too afraid to come here because of the homeless people, but they're all gone. And it seriously looks like Paris. I mean, I've never seen this many people out here. I mean, look, everyone is enjoying it. Everybody. A year ago, Trump said he was going to clean out D.C., and he did.
Even the blue-haired tourists are enjoying it, Kosha. I mean, there you go. That's a surprise. And yet there's still controversy around this, even though the costs of some of these projects are a fraction of what the Democrats were expecting to pay when they were in power. People are still saying, oh, no, it's costing this much during a cost of living crisis.
This is a losing issue for the people opposing it, whether it's here, whether it's LA, and we're seeing what Spencer Pratt and the success he's having. Just a simple message: clean up the streets, clean up homelessness, maintain basic infrastructure, drain the pool.
What facts the left have on their side?
Once in a while, clean the monuments is very popular, especially when we know how much government wastes on all sorts of things. This feels like a good use of money. But if Trump is doing it, de facto, there's going to be a certain level of opposition. There's nothing you can do about that. He, of course, knows how to troll them. It's under the EO Make America Beautiful Again, which he signed last year. So that those words tend to just really rile
like MAGA. That's even better than MAGA.
Yes.
Make America healthy again. Now, before you go, Kosha, we've seen the slow decline of DEI in corporate America, diversity, equity, inclusion, since Trump came to power, but it is still there. Let's hear from JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon.
Good morning.
Did we overdo DEI in a lot of cases? Yeah, we did. And people know that.
We overdid it, Kosha. Surely any level of deliberate discrimination, which is what DEI is, it's got beautiful sounding names, but it is deliberate discrimination. Any level of that is surely wrong.
It is. It's illegal, but it's another thing, like we talked about with BLM. These things get mythologized, and DEI sort of just became a high-level sort of symbol of equity and like all these things. As you say, it sounds good. And I think a lot of people genuinely then start believing it without thinking underneath, well, what does it actually mean? Are you actually precluding white males from jobs in investment banking, as an example, or elsewhere? So that's funny that he admitted
Asian
it.
students from universities.
Right.
I mean, some of the biggest victims of policies like this are people who are ethnic minorities, but who come from very successful ethnic minority groups.
Right. And that Supreme Court ruling for Harvard, of course, was one thing. So again, all these things sort of break the back of these edifices once they take root, but it is really hard. It takes a long, long time to completely change that culture. It often will shapeshift. DEI can shapeshift and emerge under a different name, a different label, a different mask, but there is progress. I think just yesterday there was a settlement with IBM for something similar around this, so small wins to try and undo what they've put into place that is deeply wrong, and everyone knows it.
Coach Gator, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I spoke on the show yesterday about Chelsea Handler and Drew Carey's foul-mouthed rant against Spencer Pratt. Well, Spencer has delivered an incredible comeback, posting on X, "Isn't it weird how the two comedians histrionically lashing out against me are both in the Epstein files? What are the odds?" Joining me now is comedian and host of After Hours with Alex Stein. Alex, he's
Here you
not
go with the word
messing around.
maggots.
You come
That's
for
all a
Spencer
lie,
Pratt, and
Darren.
he's going to come back at you with receipts.
Welcome to the chat.
You know, Rita, I don't think anybody has been trained in internet drama more than.
You said that the Democrat Party is a party of the EBT community. I don't understand what you're talking about. How y'all build a stronger economy package. Somalis, daycare fraud, billions of dollars. How y'all helping? You know what I'm saying? What are you talking about?
Spencer Pratt, so he can take anything they can ditch out to him. So I'm really excited to see what happens in this upcoming election for the mayor of Los Angeles. This is going to be great when Spencer Pratt gets to the runoff.
Well, the odds are looking good for him at this stage. He's considered a 77% chance of advancing in the LA
Here you go with the BS.
mayoral race. But Alex is.
Hey, Darren, man, go to somebody else's chat with the Epstein files. We don't care about them files. We care about the victims. Don't come on this chat about them damn Epstein files. When years ago they had them, nobody even talk about them.
Is there really any chance of winning the thing? Because this is LA after all, and let's be honest,
Hey, y'all, need to check this guy's hard drive. Yeah, check his hard drive, Clay.
No,
Think
Rita,
about the
come
Epstein
on, don't be
files.
like that. First of all, Karen Bass can't even fill up the water reservoirs to stop a wildfire. I mean, that is the bare minimum requirement.
She worry about the victims, worry about the files
Major
for.
metropolitan city like Los Angeles. So I would argue that all of the citizens of Los Angeles have felt let down by the current leadership. So they want somebody that's different. They want somebody that's unorthodox, and I think Spencer Pratt checks all those boxes.
Well, I hope for the sake of LA and all the sane people who remain there that he wins, but it is LA. I mean, they keep voting for this nonsense. That's why they're in the mess they're in. Now, Donald Trump was introduced by Giants quarterback Jackson Dart at a rally in New York. That supplies plenty
You mean the Clinton
of people.
files?
Dart's
Clinton been to the alley more than anybody, and kicking it with him. Talk to the Secret Service that Bill Clinton had with him. Do your research for you to jump in my chat to some files, Trump files. Get off the plantation, man. Do your research.
brief speech drew criticism from one of his Giants teammates, Abdul Carter, who said in a tweet, "Thought this was AI. What we doing, man?" But not long after that, he posted a follow-up saying, "Me and JD6 are good. We spoke earlier as men. Y'all can keep y'all narratives." Alex, I'm going to say I'm impressed by this because any prominent person, whether they're an athlete or a celebrity, who sides on the conservative side of politics is going to cop it. They're going to cop it from the industry. They're going to cop it from the media. And this quarterback has taken the heat and taken a stand.
Well, Jackson Dart is awesome. I'm a big fan ever since he was at Ole Miss. But let me tell you something, Rita, and I don't know if we're going to get into it later in this interview. but I'm here in West Palm Beach breaking a huge story for James O'Keefe Media Group, talking specifically about how a person high up in the Washington Nationals organization, a Major League Baseball league, let me just put it this way. Pete Hegseth tries to meet the players, and there's literally somebody from the organization that stops Pete Hegseth from meeting the conservative players of the Washington Nationals. So this is a thing that is league-wide, whether it's the NFL, whether it is the NBA, it doesn't matter. They don't want conservative people meeting with these players and getting some sort of conservative clout. This is a thing that's happening in all different sports leagues, and tomorrow we're breaking a huge story explicitly just about this.
Well, I'm going to wait with bated breath for that, but I like what you've already told us. So you've got people at the Washington Nationals now trying to obstruct members of the team or members of the administration meeting with someone like a Pete Hegseth. I mean, would that have ever happened if...
Trump the one that told on Epstein, you know that, right? Do your research. Trump the one snitched on him. What are you talking about?
The Democrats were in power. Would anybody stop a team member from meeting a Democrat who is the war secretary or has any position of power in the administration?
Rita, you know that if any one of the players want to meet Joe Biden, they roll out the red carpet.
Right, Ariel, they got no leadership. Everything is Trump bad.
Specifically targeted towards conservative people that have conservative viewpoints, that they do not want them connect to other conservative voices.
AOC Democrat representative of the modern-day Democratic Party, Alexandria Cortez, decided to take it upon herself to do a damn rally in Philadelphia. Go figure. Boy, Chris Rabb, who's apparently running for Congress, a politician, she decided to use that moment right then and there, to speak her mind. And I quote, "The MAGA party is the last breath of the Confederacy." Do you think this is a damn game? Do you all think this is a damn game? What? Do you think you in Star Wars Phantom Menace? What the hell are you talking about? MAGA part. Listen, understand the majority of the average American is a MAGA person. They voted for Donald Trump. They are Republicans, and the ones that
75 million, baby.
are not MAGA, they don't like you all. They're not for your guys' party. I know some liberals and Democrats where they looked at that party and said, you know what? It is not for us any longer. They don't recognize the party. The party is made up of bitter women and beta males. That's just what you all spent years, man. Years. Keep talking about Donald Trump and MAGA people. If you're talking about MAGA people, that means you're talking about the people that you eventually want to win over. But you ain't winning them over. You want to know why? Because you all going around complaining and complaining and complaining. You had King Jeffries get on his little press conference.
Gene Jeffries had a dinner with Epstein, a lawyer. You know, I could go all day with this BS with this Epstein shit, but let's continue.
That's illegal. It's against. They're trying to take. You all have been doing this for decades. Both parties have been doing this for decades. It sounds like you all are losing. And so what you all are trying to do, you all are trying to play the blame game, point the fingers. That's all you all do. My God, man. And then she had the audacity, right, to get on stage a few weeks ago, right? Oh, yeah, us North, it's time to go down to the South and take it. Take what? Take what?
An ass whooping?
Our Fruity Pebble community will run y'all asses out of here. What are you talking about? These people are insane, man. They don't. If you all remember a few years ago when AOC was walking somewhere and there was this guy. I guess he was trying to go viral. I forget who he was. I believe he was probably a reporter.
What you talking about, Salty?
And he's filming her, and what she did not realize
What you
is that
talking
he was
about?
filming her, right? So she does a live or whatever. She gets on, oh, this guy is saying that my juicy booty. Come to find out, he drops the content. Come to find out, she lied about it. She lied about it. This is who you all want to represent you all liberals? A liar? They all are liars. They all are liars with TDS. And to be quite frank, I don't think she has TDS. I say this in all my videos. Most of these Democrat reps, they're playing the game. They're capitalizing off the mentally unstable people who, for whatever reason, have Trump deranged syndrome. They gotta hate somebody. And so they're capitalizing off these type of people. You don't need 380 million people to support you. All you need is a few thousands in their position, and they can maintain their certain lifestyle.
Happily married.
What they're doing. Every single one of them. How dare you? How freaking dare you? Oh, the MAGA. First off, is MAGA party. When do you all
Are you married?
realize that it's not about MAGA party? It's about, understand, people. When are we going to start? When are these people going to start asking the question, why did people feel the need to vote Republican and vote for Donald Trump for a second term after you all try to discredit this man to death? To death. For 8 damn years, to death. You all threw everything at him, even at the point where you all tried to assassinate this man.
Still trying to kill him. So what's going on?
Ask yourselves that. Why? Because you guys' party is bullcrap. It's bullcrap. How about you all take this time to work on you guys' party, to work on y'all message? I don't know, reinvent your damn self. Now, me personally, I would never vote Democrat. Never in my damn life. I don't care if they have the better one. That's just me. Historically speaking, I can't settle for voting for a Democrat. But I'm saying, take this time to reinvent yourself. If this is y'all meaning of reinventing you guys up, screaming, you had Elizabeth Warren scream at the No King protest, like a crazy person. She looked like damn Jim Carrey as the Grinch. She looked like, what's that, Stephen Carell, what's that, Bruce Almighty, Evan Almighty. Just crazy, man.
He be snapping, my man be snapping. Oh, yeah.
Iran thought it had bought itself time. Keep the straight mind, run the clock out, stall the talks, wait for the American public to get tired, and watch Donald Trump blink like every other president before him. That was the plan. And then at 3 o'clock this morning, the regime got its most rude awakening yet. Make sure to stick them to the very end of this video, because we're going to break down the latest strikes in the Strait of Hormuz, the jaw-dropping conditions Trump just attached to the Iran deal, and why, when you put all the pieces together, what's actually happening in the Middle East right now is about to shock the entire world. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your patron professor, here to help you make sense of the madness with breaking news and analysis you're not going to get anywhere else. So you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Also, if you are waking up every morning feeling anxious about what's happening out there, that ends today. My free Patriot Alerts land in your...
What up, Jardel? What up, bro? Good morning, good morning. Thanks for the super chat, man. Thank you, thank you. Appreciate that every time. Let's get it.
Inbox every morning with exactly what you need to know with no spin. Scan the QR code below and wake up tomorrow with clarity instead of dread. All right, let's dive right in here, gang. This morning, May 26th, the United States military launched fresh strikes on southern Iran. These were not symbolic. These were targeted. U.S. Central Command confirmed the strikes hit missile sites and Iranian vessels that were actively attempting to lay anti-shipping mines in the contested Strait of Hormuz.
Good citizen, good morning.
The targeted area was near Bandar Abbas, a southern port city that sits directly on the strait, home to one of Iran's largest naval bases. And on top of that, reports are now coming in of a separate strike on Larak Island, a small strategic island sitting right at the choke point, right at the mouth of the strait. Again, the targets were missile launchers and mine-laying vessels. And what's so interesting here with these strikes is that Trump is in effect saying, you know, we can talk and we can bomb simultaneously. Right? That's how you send a message, right? You don't escalate, but you don't back down. You remind Iran every single morning, if necessary, that the United States military is in control. We're right there watching every boat, tracking every mine, and that the Strait of Hormuz will be open, and they will agree to our terms one way or another. We'll give Iran an exit ramp. They'll be able to appear to save face, at least in part. But this morning was a thorough reminder that though Trump is willing to talk, U.S. forces are still very active and very ready to strike Iran anywhere, anytime. It's a brilliant pressure campaign. Now, at the same time, the negotiations with Iran continue to develop. A senior Trump administration official laid out the deal framework in detail over the weekend, and the headline is pretty simple. Iran gets absolutely nothing unless and until it surrenders its nuclear stockpile. The phrase the administration is using, no dust, no dollars. I like that. No dust, no dollars. You don't hand over the highly enriched uranium, you don't get a dime. Not a resource, not a sanction lift, not a single concession. The deal works in two steps. Step one, Iran opens the Strait of Hormuz, the naval blockade lifts, and the world economy gets some breathing room. And at the exact same time, Iran has to commit in writing on record to surrendering its highly enriched uranium stockpile. No commitment, no step one, no relief, and the bombing will resume. Step two, once that commitment is made, the two sides spend a structured 30-day negotiating period hammering out the mechanism for how the uranium is handed over and verified. And the administration is crystal clear. They don't get a single cent during those 30 days either. So the structure's designed so that the United States can verify Iran's compliance without being fleeced, a direct shot at the disastrous Obama-era JCPOA deal that handed Tehran billions in cash up front, which they gladly exploited, of course. The framework, if it works, is structured like a ratchet. Every concession Iran makes locks in and can't be undone, but they don't get anything in return until the next commitment is verified. So that's the brilliance of these negotiations. They assume they're actually counting on Iran's deception and reneging on their commitment. So they're hammering out built-in mechanisms that would prevent that. And there's a reason Iran might actually take it. The people sitting across the negotiating table from American diplomats are radically different from the leadership of 2 months ago. I mean, the hardliners have more or less been eliminated. Many of them literally killed in U.S. and Israeli airstrikes. The pragmatists, the people who understand that Iran's economy is dying every single hour, have been elevated precisely because they were deliberately spared in the strikes. And for the first time in the history of these negotiations, Iranian officials are privately acknowledging that surrendering the nuclear stockpile is something they will have to give on. Something's broken inside the Iranian system, and now we have to understand why, because the answer leads us to the biggest strategic move of Donald Trump's presidency. This is literally going to change the world like never before. While Trump unleashes a political reckoning, there is another crisis poisoning every American in some way, shape, or form, even in the comfort of our own homes. I'm talking about the microplastic epidemic. Now, you may have heard about this, but this is pretty shocking. All the benefits of premix in your gut. People are seeing improvements in digestion, bloating, regularity, energy, 3-3. On Saturday, President Trump held a phone summit with the leaders of Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Egypt, Jordan, Turkey, Bahrain, and the UAE. 8 leaders, one call. The entire Muslim world's most powerful players on the line simultaneously. And Trump didn't just talk about the Iran ceasefire. He dropped a bombshell that's going to reshape the Middle East literally forever. He told those leaders, once a peace agreement with Iran is in place, it should be mandatory that all of these countries simultaneously sign onto the Abraham Accords. Now, you think about that. Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Pakistan, Egypt, Jordan, Turkey, all normalizing relations with Israel. That's the heart of the Abraham Accords, all joining the framework that Donald Trump built in 2020 as a condition of being part of the Iran deal. And then, as if that weren't shocking enough, Trump actually suggested that Iran itself could join the Abraham Accords. The Abraham Accords from Trump's first term were designed to accomplish two goals: normalize relations between Israel and the Sunni Arab world, and build a regionally united front against Iran and isolate the Islamic Republic diplomatically, economically, militarily. So the Abraham Accords sought to bring together Arab money with Israeli muscle and forge a new Middle East alliance of peace and prosperity, all the while structurally encircling the Iranian regime, cutting off its money, eliminating its proxies, stripping it ultimately of its nuclear capability, and forcing it into a regional order where it can no longer export terrorism and instability. What Trump is building in real time right now is exactly that. He's using the Iran war as leverage to close the Abraham Accords to an entirely new tier of Muslim-majority nations, nations that have never before been willing to sit at the same table with Israel. And he's structuring the deal so that Iran's own recovery, its access to economic relief, to trade, to investment, depends on accepting a regional architecture built around Israeli security and American influence. So this is why the negotiations are taking so long. This is not a ceasefire. This is a civilizational restructuring, and it's happening right now. And at this point, it just appears increasingly inevitable. Iran's Karg Island oil terminal has had essentially zero export activity for months. The U.S. naval blockade is holding. Iran's oil economy is not just hurting, it's literally stopped. China, Iran's last great patron, the buyer of most of its oil, 80 to 90% of it. China has publicly aligned with Trump, calling for the Strait to remain open and expressing interest in replacing Iranian crude with American oil. Remember, the two countries hurt most by the regime's closing the Strait of Hormuz was China and Iran. It was, frankly, the most idiotic, suicidal, unsustainable move imaginable. Iran's Strait blockade is economically destroying themselves, all the while cutting off oil from their chief financier. That's why any refusal to come to the table is not just an ideological stance anymore, it's economic suicide. And the pragmatists inside the regime know it. You have Israel providing the military and intelligence backbone of the anti-Iran coalition. You've got Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Qatar providing the economic muscle, the diplomatic cover, and, as we now know, covert strike capability inside Iranian territory. You have the United States providing the overwhelming military deterrent, the naval blockade.
Spanish Prime Minister, little Pedro Sanchez, is really up against him. They're calling for his ouster. Yeah, this guy is being threatened with, really bad poll numbers. I don't even know what to tell him. It's way down in the doldrums there. Meanwhile, people are taking to the streets, 80,000 people going out in Madrid saying, we got to get rid of this guy. So thousands of people coming out to the streets because they see him as one corrupt individual.
Yes, Trish should be on it, man. She be on it.
They see his wife as corrupt. They see his predecessor, a former Spanish prime minister who was very close to him, as also corrupt. So the whole team, total corruption, which, by the way, wouldn't surprise me because he is a socialist after all. He did invite Timmy Walz, did he not, to Barcelona to come and speak recently? Was China paying for that? I wonder. Anyway, Timmy, Sanchez, They know how this stuff goes down, I suspect. Here's his wife, Behoma Gomez. So Behoma Gomez Sanchez is the wife of Mr. Sanchez, and she's been charged with corruption after a 2-year criminal investigation.
I'll play another video of Trish. I'll play another one after this one.
Because apparently she's skimming a little off the top for, influence peddling. That is the concern, corruption and business dealings and misappropriation of funds, according to the court rulings. How is this guy still there? And how is he becoming a thorn in our side by not allowing us to use our bases and by now siding with Iran? I think this guy is going to find out his days are really, really numbered. Tens of thousands of people, it's being written, and I believe this is it's a European publication, DW. Tens of thousands of people rallying in Madrid on Saturday to demand the resignation of Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez following a series of corruption scandals. And it went on into Sunday, I should point out. The protest was called by the Spanish civil organization, Civil Society Association, which said about 80,000 people attended. This is twice as much as the government had anticipated you would actually see out there. You had the opposition People's Party, as well as they call it the far right Vox Party, also taking part in all of this. And again, people have kind of had it with this guy. They see him as corrupt. I'm just amazed. I mean, a socialist that's corrupt? Are you kidding me? Can't be, right? Zapatero is the guy that they're really kind of angry with, and this would be the sort of mentor, if you would, for Juan Pedro Sanchez. Jose Luis Rodriguez Zapatero. He had been placed under criminal investigation over corruption allegations, and then, of course, the wifey, that's her name again, Behona Gomez. Yeah, she's apparently kind of allegedly. We'll go with allegedly because, proven until guilty, even in that country. We'll say that she is allegedly quite corrupt, and that is what is believed. Now, I think it's interesting in light of Rota and Marone being off limits to us. Were we supposed to pass a little cash under the table or something? I mean, is there some other little corruption deal that we weren't so aware of that we were supposed to, we've been paying them and paying them and paying them hundreds of millions of dollars, keeping these two bases afloat. And then when we need to use them to stop over to refuel while en route to the Middle East, that they're not going to let us? You're kidding me. The guy whose wife is alleged to have done all this corruption, whose mentor is allegedly corrupt. I mean, his whole party there apparently kind of corrupt. The whole darn country wants him out, and he gets up there and turns it on his heels and says all of his competitors are somehow guilty because they are not calling the war illegal. This is a NATO member, okay? A NATO member.
En pocas palabras, esto es un desastre absoluto.
Yes, un desastre absoluto. I keep saying that because, he's speaking in Spanish the whole time, but he goes on to talk about how this war is in fact illegal. And I'm just saying, if this guy is in fact what some are alleging, if he's corrupt, then does that have any relation to, what's going on in Cuba as we started this show and the influencers getting paid? Who's paying them? Is Iran paying them? Is Spain paying them? Is China paying them? Because he's got all these businesses in Cuba. We actually just had to sanction them all. And so now they're all leaving, all those hotel companies. Were they the ones providing hotel rooms?
Like and subscribe, you guys. Like and subscribe. Thank you.
In violation of FARA rules, working as foreign agents. I mean, this guy, what is he up to? They're opening a new embassy, for goodness sakes, in Spain. A whole new embassy in Tehran, Spanish embassy in Tehran. This is him. There's no
problem, Florida.
No other Western nation that's doing this, and they think that this is going to be just fantastic
in and out,
together.
No problem. Thank
my
you.
committed team writes the new ambassador to Tehran, Antonio Sanchez. I don't know what the rest of his name is. Oh, is he Sanchez too? Are they related? Pedro Sanchez and Antonio Sanchez? Anyway, he's reopening today his Spanish embassy in Tehran in order to join in efforts for peace for every possible quarter. I'm not buying any of it. Not buying any of it. Look, Spanish did not have such a good history. I mean, we have to go back hundreds of years, but Spanish did not have a very good history, did they, now, with the Middle East? But, at some point, I guess they got over that because they started to have some ties, and they had indeed some economic ties. And at one point, before sanctions went in with Iran in 2011, they were getting 14% of their oil supply all from Tehran, all from Iran. And so they had exports that they were sending to Iran, and Iran was sending oils, and they had one hunky-dory little relationship until, well, most recently, right? Because we shut all this down. And so now they're trying to like rekindle something, hence the reopening of the embassy in Tehran, the Spanish embassy in Tehran, just, a few weeks ago. And they're now trying to call it the war, that is, the strikes, the excursion, illegal, unjust, and immoral. And they're not allowing us the use of our bases. So this is a big problem. Big problem. Of course, we don't need the bases, right? We don't need the bases because we just send our sub to Gibraltar, to the UK's Gibraltar. Of course, Spain doesn't believe that the UK has any authority over Gibraltar. This is kind of a sore, sticky point for them. But you know what? We're sending a message. We sent our USS Alaska there just recently. I was reporting on that for you. And this is like a nuclear sub, okay? So what do we say? Okay, we never publish this, by the way. We never, ever publish this. But in this case, our Navy put out a press release. And they're like, yep, there it is in Gibraltar. And it's loaded up. And, it's got tons of ballistic nuclear warheads on it. So those are, that thing is filled with missiles. And we sent a message to Spain. We don't need you. Because we're all here in the Strait of Gibraltar. We're here at the dock in Gibraltar, and we're going to continue taunting you however need be. And by the way, when we left, we sent in a British, the Brits only have like one sub right now. They sent it there to Gibraltar too. There was a little kind of issue. The Spanish actually tried to kind of intercede and make life difficult for the British sub, which tells you how darn clueless these idiots really are, right? But this guy, he's very anti-US. I think that there may be a case of something else is going on, and so I question how he's getting paid off, if you would. I would say that he's going to be voted out of office very, very soon, and so that's his own problem, and he's probably, if indeed he is guilty of the things that they're suggesting he might be guilty of, heading straight for the slammer, their version of it. But I would say that, the socialists, they've got about 28 to 29 support, 29% support right now, which is just really bad for them. That's a very, very bad showing. They're down significantly. If you look at Vox, which is sort of the conservative right party, they're up quite considerably, looking at about 17 to 19% strength there. The People's Party, which is center right, they're around 31 to 32%. And so, and then I look at the left and the far left, and they're way, 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 way down, and they've got just, anemic support. So overall, what is this telling you? That the conservatives are taking over in Spain because they are figuring out in Spain just exactly what we've all figured out anywhere else in the world, what the Cubans figured out, what the Venezuelans figured out, what communist-controlled Cambodia figured out, what the Vietnamese figured out, even what the Chinese figured out, right? The communism just does not work, not without a little capitalism, in the case of China thrown in. And if, in fact, Bejona Gomez, the wife of Sanchez, is guilty, then, yeah, I think that it once again proves its point. You see that? Take a look at that. He's cleaning the streets. What's it say? Imagine, let's go back for a second. Imagine if the streets were as clean as this Spencer Pratt for mayor. He's power washing the darn streets. I mean, they could be power washed. And then you look at the mess that is Los Angeles right now. I'll tell you, California is just a disaster, but Los Angeles in particular, well, Los Angeles and San Francisco, I'll tell you, they need some help. They really, really, really need help. And so Spencer Pratt's coming out there, and, he's still not over the fires because he lost his house. He lost his house just like a whole lot of people lost their homes. And the feeling is, you know what? Karen Bass doesn't really care. She talks a good game. Oh, she's all for the homeless, right? All for the homeless. She's spending more and more and more of your taxpayer dollars on the homeless, but she can't seem to fix the homeless situation. So he's kind of had it up to here. He ran this campaign, and he's been doing a phenomenal job, just a phenomenal job. One of the things he was just asked, I think this was in an interview with News Nation, was, Donald Trump says, you're just MAGA, you're great. You're like an extension of MAGA. And he said something kind of important. I actually think this is very fundamentally true about MAGA in general, because I've always said, you know what? I I don't really identify with a party. I consider myself conservative, very much oriented around freedom, etc. But hey, JFK cut taxes. And if you had a Democrat that showed up on my doorstep and said, I'm going to cut taxes and I'm going to do a lot to strengthen our military and I'm going to make sure that we're all safe and secure, then hey, you have my vote. It doesn't have to be so partisan. It's become partisan because everybody seems to have lost sight of what is good for this country, but not Spencer Pratt. So listen to his answer right here. I think it's an important one.
Yesterday, President Trump said, I heard he's a big MAGA person in response to you. Are you a big MAGA person?
I'm a big nobody person. I'm a big Spencer Pratt, Angelino person. I only represent myself, my community, Angelinos. I'm not part of any political party. I'm running a nonpartisan race. I'm supposed to represent all of Los Angeles, not either political party. And that's the problem. Everyone has lost the plot. The mayor is supposed to be a nonpartisan race. That's why there's no letters next to anyone's name. The mayor currently has hijacked the position in the chair, made it a political seat. It's not supposed to be. You're supposed to make the police, water and power, fire, streets without potholes, the lights on, no drug addicts in front of the parks, no drug addicts naked in front of kids' school. That is my party. It's Angry Angelito. So anybody can say I'm connected to whoever they want, and I'm fine with anybody saying I like Spencer Pratt. Great. Spread that message, because my message is common sense, basic human quality of life. So it should be everyone. Obama should love me. The president should love me. Biden should love me. Biden's wife should love. Everybody should love what I do, because I want kids to feel safe, moms to feel safe. I want drug addicts to get the help they need, not this empty bed, give them meals. Oh no, it just broke.
Isn't that great? I mean, it's a great message. In a way, it's kind of what Donald Trump's message has always been, too, because Make America Great Again doesn't actually need to be left or right. It's kind of just common sense values, right? We want to do the right things to empower this next generation to go further and further and further. We want another 250 years, baby, right? Like, this does not actually have to be Democrat, Republican. I mean, I guess it's become that, right? And that's the world in which we live. But I thought Spencer had a great message. And I'll tell you, he's got a decent shot at these things. And I tell you that because I'm noticing how terrified the establishment is getting. I mean, all the actors and actresses out there, why do they have anything against Spencer? Why is he so scary? He just wants to clean things up for you guys. I mean, you should embrace that and welcome that. But no, listen to this Fox report. They're talking about a guy named Drew Carey, the comedian. He has no use for Spencer Pratt. Ask yourself why.
The criminal activity is happening there, and he said you don't have to live this way. Well, after he's been gaining such ground and such support by being so organic, you're seeing the elites attack him in a big way. And the latest person to attack him is Drew Carey. This is what he said: anyone who votes or endorses Spencer Pratfall for mayor of LA needs to get their head out of their ass. I understand being angry, unsatisfied, but at least get behind someone competent, not a serial scammer without a soul or moral compass. Blank this guy already.
Okay. So Karen Bass is still, strangely enough, the favorite to win here. But it looks like if no one gets above 50% on the primary, which is coming just in a few days on June 2nd, then the top two candidates will advance to this November runoff. And that's when it could get really, really interesting. Now, a lot of the polls right now, including things like I like the real-time betting markets, financial person that I am, Polymarket Kalshi, all of these places are showing that it's still probably going to be Karen Bass, but they've been wrong before, right? And you could see them shifting as we get closer and closer. I mean, they were wrong there was a time when they actually thought Biden might win. There was a time when they thought Kamala. I mean, I was looking at going, are you serious? How can that be? I think, I'll never forget that image of Karen Bass when LA was burning and she came back from her New Year's Eve trip to Africa, and she was asked by a reporter, hey, do you have any response? And she just looked through him like she didn't even see him. I thought there was something wrong with her, like she was having some kind of seizure or something at first. I'm like, what is wrong with Karen Bass? Oh, she's just pretending she doesn't hear this reporter. Well, listen, you're not hearing your constituents at that point, because this is all they care about. These are their lives. Their homes going up in smoke, and you can't have the decency to stop and talk to the reporter that you're alone in an elevator with? Listen, not good, not good, not good.
I think I will say as
forgive me. I want to jump in and just let you know this is his other competitor. Okay, this is the other woman that's running, and she's kind of breaking away some of the vote from Karen, which is why it's believed they may get to a runoff. But listen to this woman. I mean, she's the one who, along with Karen Bass, says, yeah, we need to be talking about making people who are here in this country and not citizens, so non-citizens as they define them, we need to consider allowing them to vote. This is his competitor. I mean, you kind of had me at that, right? Like, and anybody who's voting for that, I really, really question. But nonetheless, there are a few of them out there still in LA. Let's listen to her because she thinks the biggest threat of Spencer Pratt and his, AI memes that he's put out there are somehow, hurting Hollywood itself. Watch.
I think I will say as my husband works in Hollywood, and to promote your campaign with AI videos in a city that is the core of our entertainment industry feels deeply insulting to so many workers across this city.
He would say he's just sharing out other people's AI videos, and that's not what he's
sure.
doing. Yeah.
But I would also say that I think the kind of language that he used.
But here's the sort of latest, okay? There was a poll conducted May 13th by the LA Times, and it showed Karen Bass at 30%, showed Spencer Pratt at 22%. The woman you just saw there, last name is Ramam, she is at 20% with 16% undecided, okay? So 16% are going into this thing undecided. And I wonder if to a certain extent, it's just like with Trump. Like nobody wants to admit. Like the pollster calls, well, are you going to vote for Trump? And people were like really shy about that, right? Because you consider the sort of tar and feathering that was going on. And then you think about Drew Carey saying anybody that would vote for Spencer Pratt, they must have a screw loose, et cetera, et cetera. I think he said it a little bit more graphically than that, but you get the picture. So people are shy. They're not necessarily saying I'm going to vote for him. And so I think that this is worth watching. Emerson College had a poll just recently, and what you saw there, this was about a week ago, was that Spencer Pratt was looking at 22 to 23%. Karen Bass still had 30 to 35%. Again, 16%, same number, undecided. And then Signal also had one with 25% of the support going to Karen Bass and 22% there to Spencer Pratt, and 19% there undecided. So what this could mean is, given that LA uses this this top two primary system, it could mean if nobody gets to 50%, then the top two are going to advance to that November runoff, and that would mean Karen Bass versus Spencer Pratt. And I'm telling you, that he's the dark horse there, okay? That's the one to bet on because he's going to keep on climbing. A few dark horses that we bet on at 76 Research, my other company. I've got 3 portfolios: American Resilience, Inflation Protection, Income Builder over there. Go check them out at 76research.com. We have 10 to 15 stocks in each one of those.
And we're back, y'all. Thank you for watching today. Go ahead and hit that like button, my people. It helps us out a ton. And, of course, it helps you because it helps us keep bringing you these stories every day. Now, y'all, in the state of Massachusetts, we haven't talked about them. We used to talk about Boston all the time, y'all. Well, in the state of Massachusetts right now, there is a huge scandal as Massachusetts Department of Transportation employees are being called out on TV, y'all, for overbilling. I mean, big time overbilling, stealing, committing fraud, y'all, against the state as it relates to their timesheets, y'all. So you might think, well, what does that mean? Like, how much could they really have stolen, y'all? Get this. The highest paid Massachusetts DOT worker last year made over $240,000, y'all. Over $240K. And they say in the news reports in the neighboring state, the highest paid worker in that same type of position only made $78,000. So you do the math, y'all. So today we're going to take a look at this scandal. And also we're going to remind you of all of the employee scandals from Boston from the last year or so. It got so bad that the legislature called a special session, an emergency on hiring, y'all, because they're hiring people who are committing violence, who are stealing. One guy even had pounds of the white stuff. You know, the white stuff. He had pounds and pounds of the white stuff delivered to his job, y'all. No joke.
Stop
Trafficking
playing.
that stuff, y'all. So, y'all, we're going to take a...
Are y'all serious? What this man just said? This man had powder to his job, sent to his job. That's crazy. These people are too comfortable with this power.
Look at all this today. It's going to be a fun video, but it's a very serious situation, y'all. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into
We
it.
found employees routinely billing double shifts on legally binding time cards. Time on the clock is supposed to equal time on the job, but we found that's not always the case. Meet Zach Fuller and his 2025 GMC pickup. It retails for roughly the same price as Fuller's $84,000 a year base salary. Not a stretch when you factor in overtime, paid at time and a half. State payroll records reveal Fuller's total compensation was $240,000 last year, or nearly 3 times his base. On his Facebook page, under a 2021 post, someone asked, "Gotta tell us how you make $214,000 a year." LOL. But he's not the only one cleaning up. Many of the top earners with the same job title work here at the heavily monitored District 6 Mastop facility in Charlestown. Payroll data shows them routinely clocking overnight shifts and then working a full day shift right after. But for at least 8 of them, the math doesn't appear to add up. 25 investigators spent months monitoring departure times from a parking garage that overlooks the facility. And we compared that to payroll data we requested from MassDOT. We observed Zach Fuller's truck leave at 11:49, 11:03, and 11:24. On days he claimed overtime until 3:30 in the afternoon. Dana Bell made $228,000 in 2025, 137,000 of that in overtime. Bell's time card has him working overtime until the afternoon on 4 days his Jeep departed hours earlier. That's a Jeep parked at his home at 12:42 p.m. On one of the days he reported working until 3.
Damn.
Jim Manning submitted nearly 1,700 overtime hours worth $100,000. We watched his red truck leave hours before his claimed departure times on 6 different occasions. On 3 of those days, we observed his truck parked at his home.
He's up to $221 a year. Yeah, that's unbelievable.
So the news actually confronted many of these guys, and what do you think? I mean, how do you explain this? How do you explain it? I mean, they have the proof. They have the evidence, I should say. They have the evidence that you weren't at work when you said you were. You're billing hundreds of thousands of dollars more than you should be. What do you say?
Several days you reported working a full day. We watched you left early, even saw you at home.
No idea what you're talking about.
No, Dana. Ted Daniels, Boston 25 News. I want to talk to you about some discrepancies we found from when you left work to when you put on your time card. If you did nothing wrong, can you just tell us that? Are you working all the hours you say you're working? I don't know.
Damn.
Governess Maura Healey, she says she's outraged by this. Do you think she really cares?
Nope.
I mean, you kind of have to say that you're outraged, don't you? Now, remember, as I said earlier, one of her employees had pounds and pounds of the white stuff.
How you doing, chat? Glad you guys are in the chat. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for being in the chat. Let's continue. It's a long one, but it's worth it.
If you will, being delivered to him at work. Do you think she really cares, y'all?
People are screwing around. They're not at work. They're not where they're supposed to be. It's outrageous. Anytime somebody is ripping off the public, ripping off
They
taxpayers,
milking the clock.
I'm outraged. And, I hope whatever
Milky.
the investigation yields, know that they're going to be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. And I work with people across state government, local government, federal government, who show up every day and do their jobs and work really hard. And that's what the public deserves. That's what the public expects. But boy, when I saw that, I went through the roof.
And because this video was a bit of an anthology of the dirty deeds of Massachusetts, y'all, let's just take a look at many of the other stories that we've covered over the past year in which Massachusetts employees have been caught up, arrested for dirty deeds, y'all. Most of these are about violence, not about stealing. But let's just take a look at this, and also the special session that they called because they said, look, we're hiring criminals, y'all. We're hiring. We have too many. We have people who have been involved with youngsters, if you know what I mean. People
Nasty
who are assaulting
bastards.
people, including police officers. Yeah, it's a little bit of everything, y'all. Take a look.
I'm filing this emergency hearing order today, calling for an immediate reforms to the City of Austin's hiring and employee review processes. This action comes after multiple troubling incidents involving city employees, including violent confrontations and the shocking case of a level 3 sex offender employed in our Parks Department. These failures highlight unacceptable gaps in background checks, sex offender screening, and continuous monitoring. This order will call for urgent reforms, including mandatory SORB and CORI checks for all hires, stronger standards for jobs involving children, seniors, and our vulnerable residents, annual rechecks, and real-time alerts for new arrests. Immediate suspension when credible allegations arise, and a full audit of city hires back to July 2023. I'm hoping that this hearing order will bring human resources, police department, the law department, parks, facilities, and any other outside experts to ensure accountability, transparency, and public safety. I believe that Boston residents deserve nothing but this full transparency and accountability.
The City of Boston human resources process must include criminal background checks. With Council Murphy and Council Fitzgerald, we filed this emergency hearing order to investigate the system-wide breakdown. We need answers. Residents of Boston need answers. We can't support the status quo. August 18th, regarding the impact of CORI, after it was learned and discovered that a level 3 sex offender was working on Boston's payroll as recently as August 12th in the Parks and Recreation Department. I do believe there's a system-wide breakdown. We need to address it and provide the residents of Boston with an exceptional workforce, and that includes background checks on new hires.
Here, this Daily Caller report says Boston Mayor Wu under fire over city employee crime wave and multiple arrests. A series of high-profile arrests and scandals involving Boston city employees have sparked calls for immediate reforms to Democrat Mayor Michelle Wu's hiring practices, the Boston Herald reports. The Boston City Council on Wednesday advanced an emergency order and will hold a hearing on reforming the city's hiring practices. Recent incidents, including the hiring of a SX offender in the Parks Department and a violent altercation involving a city employee and a state trooper, have raised questions about the city's background check procedures, according to the Boston Herald. Quote, these failures highlight unacceptable gaps in background checks, SX offender screening, and continuous monitoring, said City Councilor Aaron Murphy, who co-sponsored the measure, according to the outlet.
Damn.
Wow, that is breaking news. It is video you're going to only see on 5 as this traffic stop turns violent. The state trooper ending up going right through that window as you see. 5 Investigates broke the story at 5 p.m., revealing that a Boston City worker is now behind bars after that wild encounter.
Let's get to our Brittany Johnson. She's been digging into how all of this unfolded. Brittany?
Well, Ed and Maria, this is just the latest case of a city employee landing in trouble with the law in recent months. And in this case, that worker is being held on 5 felonies after a confrontation with both the suspect and the trooper being tased.
What's up, man? How you doing? Good. Give you a license registration.
It starts as a routine traffic stop in South Boston. A state police trooper spotting a car with window tint that appears darker than allowed by law. It all unfolded here on Old Colony Avenue, just past a traffic rotary.
I just got out of work. What do you do? I can't see the ad. Oh, see, boss.
The driver, Nasiru Ibrahim, on the city payroll, working in the property management department.
No, you're good. Just relax.
No, I know. The trooper writing in his report that because Ibrahim's demeanor was nervous and he admitted to prior firearms charges, the trooper asked to inspect a backpack on the passenger side floorboard. A few seconds later.
Hold on. Why? Go. Dude, stop! You're gonna make it worse.
As the chaos unfolds, you can see them struggling over the car's transmission as Ibrahim tries to put the car in drive, and the trooper struggles to keep it in park.
You're gonna kill somebody, dude. Okay. You're gonna kill somebody.
The struggle continues. Then you can hear the trooper use his taser on Ibrahim. Not shown on the video, but in the police report, the trooper says he had to drop his taser to put the car back in park, saying, quote, Ibrahim picked up my taser and deployed the second set of probes into the lower right side of my abdomen, causing excruciating pain. Ibrahim eventually agreed to surrender, and with the help of an off-duty Boston police officer, was placed under arrest.
In case it's not clear what was going down there, let's take a look at this report. It says a Boston City Hall employee allegedly struck a woman in the face repeatedly with her high-heel shoe as part of an attack that also involved the Wu administration official's father and two of her sisters last Friday in the North End. Ciara D'Amico, the city's deputy director of neighborhoods, allegedly joined an attack that began with her father, John D'Amico, punching a woman in the face multiple times and continued with three of his daughters jumping into the fray, according to a Boston police report obtained by the Herald. No arrests have been made in the incident, the Herald has learned. The victim, age 40, stated that Ciara D'Amico took off her high-heel shoe and hit her in the face over 3 times, the police report states. The victim stated she was attacked by all of the suspects who are also her neighbors. This wasn't the only recent situation, as I said. There were at least 2 others. So now let's hop into the last situation where a staffer allegedly assaulted somebody very badly. And funnily enough, this person who was put on leave apparently was seen with Michelle Wu on the campaign trail after this. So some people are questioning that. Let's take a look. Here, the Boston Herald reports that Boston City Hall official is on unpaid leave, but remains employed months after felony assault arrest. Now, this is who we're talking about here. Look at this lovely lady. Here it says a Wu administration official has been placed on unpaid leave, but is still employed by the city of Boston months after being arrested on felony assault charges. Her name is Denasia Yancey. She's 33 of Jamaica Plain.
Hi, I'm Denasia Yancey, and welcome to Pay a Black Woman. You're here because you care about Black women. You're here because you know that to survive in this capitalist economy, we need money. I started this company because after years as an activist on the front lines of our movements, I am struggling still.
And she was arrested and charged with assault and battery with a dangerous weapon on April 11th after allegedly attacking. Now check this out. After allegedly attacking the ex-wife of her then girlfriend in a Roxbury home during a dispute the former spouses were having over the return of a birth certificate. So apparently she had a girlfriend, and that girlfriend had an ex-wife, and somehow Yancey got into it with her girlfriend's ex-wife. All right. So Yancey is the deputy director of Michelle Wu's office of, you guessed it, LGBTQ advancement, and founded the Boston Black Lives Matter chapter in 2014, according to her professional website. Now, what exactly happened here? The assault is alleged to have occurred after Yancey accompanied her partner to the Roxbury home of her partner's ex-wife. So Yancey and her girl go to her girl's ex-wife's house to pick up some stuff. A dispute arose when the ex-wife, okay, so Yancey's girlfriend's ex-wife, yeah, y'all try to follow now, keep up now. The dispute arose when Yancey's girlfriend's ex-wife was unable to produce her ex-spouse's birth certificate as it was locked in a safe and she couldn't find the keys at the moment. The situation is alleged to have escalated when Yancey's partner tried to take the locked safe with her, and her ex-wife grabbed it back and prevented that from happening. The victim stated that after her ex-wife attempted to take the safe from her, the ex-wife's new girlfriend / suspect Denasia Yancey intervened, physically assaulting her, the police report states. According to the victim, the suspect grabbed her and threw her out of the bed. So I guess they were in a bed. Who knows what they were doing there. The victim also stated that the suspect, that's Ms. Yancey, took the lock safe from her and slammed her into the wall. The victim also stated that the suspect had punched her in the neck. Yancey was arrested and charged with assault and battery with a dangerous weapon and pleaded not guilty to those charges on the April 14th arraignment. So what is the dangerous weapon, y'all? The wall. Isn't that wild? They're saying that this assault and battery with the dangerous weapon, I suppose because she slammed her into the wall. That's interesting. So Yancey last year made $116,000 per city payroll records. Her continued employment stands in stark contrast to the near immediate dismissals of two lower-level city employees after their arrest on domestic assault charges in mid-May. Now, we just talked.
Democrat looking to beat GOP U.S. Senator Tim Scott is getting calls from her own party to stop campaigning. This coming after newly leaked audio appears to show State Representative Crystal Matthews making controversial remarks about her constituents.
Some secret sleepers, like we need
Crazy.
them to run as
Subscribe if you haven't already.
And we need them to win. We need people to run as Republicans in these local elections. And this is the only way you're going to change the dynamics in South Carolina. We can battle them in public all day. As long as we know we're working for the same goal, for me, I feel like, y'all, we need sleepers. When we get enough of us in there, we can wreak havoc for real from the inside out. Then we can put some from the inside out. We got to take back some of these seats, especially in these local elections. We need a group of sleepers. And I still got to struggle to raise money for my campaign. Where the is my black people with money? I don't care about no dope money. Give me that dope boy money. Where the duffel bag boys? Find you somebody in your family that don't even know you donating to my campaign and put that under their name. Honestly, these ain't the same type of black people that I grew up around. I don't recognize these black men. So I black because I don't understand the type of black that they are. Now, can I talk intelligently? I could move in all kinds of circles, but I'm I love black people. I feel safest around my people. I'm very much in a lot of ways, but I know how to turn it off and turn it on. You know, I know how to be in certain spaces. You know, you got to be able to turn it off and turn it on. We need some folks that can wear all black at night and take their yard signs down when they sleeping. We ain't gotta make a bunch of noise about it. We ain't gotta go live about it. Just don't say just like when somebody drop money and you pick it up. You pick that stuff if you want to.
Yo, when you hear this type of stuff, man, I mean, it's really infuriating, but it's also sad because it just goes to show you that as much as they want to paint this picture that it's about race, you know, and it's a differentiation between, you know, those that are black and white and Hispanic. It's not about any of that. It's about ideas. It's about ideology. It's about an agenda. You have those on the left, black, white, Asian, Hispanic. They are pushing an agenda to destroy our country.
Brian, I show you on both sides. I show you that the Democrat Party is trash in Florida. I also show you the Democrat Party is trash in New York. And also here in Illinois and Chicago. So I don't know what's going on, what Florida talking about. Florida, he lives in Florida. You know what he's talking about.
And you have those of us on this side of things that want to uphold and preserve the Constitution. Our country is not perfect, but we're striving to become a more perfect union. And you have people out here like this that is doing everything that they can to sabotage, so much so that they're willing to, or saying that they need to put money in people so they can join and run as Republicans, but they're basically Trojan horses, both sides working together. Not to say that this hasn't happened because there's a bunch of rhinos, you know, in DC right now. A lot of them lost, you know, over this past week. But it's really sad. It really, really is, because these are also the same people that told us that if you put them in office, they're going to be better, they're going to do better. And it's just more of the same, to be honest with you. Hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel. Check out my sister, April Chapman.
I'm sorry.
Hey,
But
bro.
what Crystal Matthews revealed, this woman revealed that some of these folks are not just trying to win elections. They're trying to infiltrate systems and deceive the voters. And they are trying to use street money to manipulate local elections because the local power grab matters. It's the city council. It's the county commission. It's the school board. Who's the sheriff? Who's the judge? Who's the DA? Who's in the state house?
What's up, Michael?
These are the races that matter. This is where the machinery of everyday life is built. And so, if corrupt people control those seats, who do you think is going to pay the price? Not in theory, but in real life. I will tell you, the children are going to pay the price. The schools pay the price. The neighborhoods, the small businesses, the churches pay the price. Our property values, the safety and the lack of law and order. At the end of the day, our future progeny pays the price, and we've been paying the price, and we are tired of paying. So my argument is simple. We are under judgment for some of the leaders that we keep electing. And I don't say this lightly. Do not be deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever you sow, that you will also reap. You cannot sow corruption and reap justice. It just doesn't work that way. So if we've been sowing lawlessness, are we shocked that we don't have peace? All of the fatherlessness that we see, these are seeds that we have sown. So are we shocked that we can't reap stability? The millions of babies that we have, is it no wonder we cannot reap growth and productivity, but all we get is stagnation and demise? All of the sexual confusion. This is why we don't have any moral clarity. The dependency over and over again, year in and year out. You cannot reap dignity from a system that way. And so if a community keeps electing wicked leaders, do not be shocked when the wickedness multiplies. Do not be shocked when the moral responsibility of a people are not rewarded because they've got destructive leadership in place.
He's absolutely right. Do not be shocked. And to be honest with you, I don't think any of us are shocked. We see, we've had a chance, not only on the local level, but also on the federal level. We got a chance to see what America would look like ran by Democrats. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, the previous 4 years, you can compare and contrast to the 4 years before that, which was the Trump era. Prior to the shutdown, we were booming and the country was headed in the right direction. We're not 100% booming like we were right now, but we are doing very well. And we're going in the right direction. And yet you have these people out here that have sold us out. Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, doesn't matter. If they are pro-socialism, communism, they're part of the Democrat Party in whatever way, they are the party that wants to destroy the country. And they are the party that they've already sold out the nation to the highest bidder, highest bidding billionaire, in the world, Soros and the likes. They've already done it. And I'm a firm believer that, you judge the tree by the fruit. And when you look at the Democrat Party and you look at, where they're in charge of things, it's nothing but death and destruction, poverty, and a lack of education. Because the Democrat Party, they do not want people to be educated. They don't want you to have money. Because when you have those things, that means that you're free. As long as they can keep you in poverty, they can keep you, in these destructive districts and things of that nature, they can control you. And then they'll be the ones to say, hey, I know things are messed up. We're going to improve it. But they don't have any interest in improving it. Matter of fact, it's not good business to improve.
And I want to start also by saying that just yesterday, I received a letter from the Speaker of the House of Tennessee removing me from every committee that I serve on as a member. And not just me, but every Black elected official in Tennessee has now been removed from their committees. This is what we mean when we're facing a new system of Jim Crow inequality.
The issue is that you guys don't know how to act. Y'all have no coup. You're not operating, in proper decorum. And that's why you guys have been removed. And to be honest with you, y'all need to be removed. Because y'all are agents of chaos. Y'all aren't agents to move the state of Tennessee in the right direction. You're just agents of chaos. Y'all are Marxists, Saul Alinsky following, agents of chaos. Simple as that. Even this dude, what has he done for his district?
Nothing.
Look at Justin Pearson. What has he done? Absolutely nothing. You look at Steve Cohen, who's been in that district and in that seat for 19 years. It was poor then, it's worse now. What have they done? And they get up here, with a fake MLK and a fake, Malcolm X, speech pattern and think that that's going to get it done. No. Y'all have been in these seats for a long enough time to actually bring some tangibles back to the districts that you represent. And they've done nothing. Absolutely nothing. And they're upset that they're being called out behind it. Shout out to Gene Robinson. This video right here, fire.
If there was ever a video that I did that drives home my point so powerfully, it would be this one. Now just watch.
Hey, yo. Oh, buddy, leaving food out. Really? That chef guy? Mm-hmm. Little piece of cheese. I'm messing with it. The guy who's always chasing us and trying to kill us? My boy done turned a leaf. We up. Where'd he leave it at? He put in a little box.
He dying right now. As he eating the food, he's dying. That's crazy.
There's a little box in the corner. It's like a little dimly lit restaurant. Pretty good touches. It was a spicy cheese. Must be Chipotle. That dark box restaurant. Yeah, order up. Y'all miss out. Nah, we good. What the? Dang. Oh, it's not good. Oh, it's looking grim. Oh, it's grim. Oh, it's looking grim. Oh, it's grim.
This is how the Democrats work. They entice you with free stuff. They pull you in when you have no idea that this is for your life and your legacy and your progeny. It looks like it's a good idea, but just like in the story by Harriet Beecher Stowe, Uncle Tom's Cabin, you don't find out who they are until it's too late, until the Sambo and Quimbo beat down the very man that tried to save their lives. Beat them and killed them. But this is exactly how insidious Democrats are. And I hope you learn a lesson just by watching this cartoon. Shout out to Brio Animations, too.
Yo, phenomenal. It reminded me of the book, Who Moved My Cheese. If you guys hadn't read it, check it out. It's a little short book, but powerful. Shout out to Gene A. Robinson Israel. Follow that brother on X as well. He's doing great work over there. But it is. That's who the Democrats are, man. They give you the poison pill. They give you just enough to survive, never enough to thrive, because they need you dependent upon them. They want you dependent upon them. And that's how they maintain control and power. They don't want you to have your own money, to make your own way, take care of your own family. Nah, they need you to be dependent upon them. So therefore, they can tell you how to live, where to live, who to eat, or how much to eat, so forth and so on. It's the Democratic way. And they're upset that they're losing that grasp, that stronghold, that stranglehold that they once had. They're upset that they're losing it. So I'm one of those kind of people, when I do run across people, even, on vacay and run across a few people from other places, just ask them questions and let them talk. They'll tell you exactly who they are and what they're about pretty quickly. It's crazy. This is sad. And this right here just goes to show how desperate the Democrat Party is, how desperate Black Democrats are, that they're telling and willing to have young people risk their futures so that they can maintain power, but keep the communities that a lot of these young people come from, poor, broke, busted, disgusted, and destitute, dangerous, and, none of these people are receiving real high-quality education, but they don't care. They don't care about you.
We have to decide at some point that we must sacrifice. I hate that we have to ask this of them, but this is where we are in this country right now if you're paying attention. And I've seen some people push back and say, oh, we're asking them to give up too much money. The people who are making the money are the schools, and they're making it on the backs of our children. Understand that fewer than 2% of our children go to the draft, basketball or football, once they've played at these schools. So a sacrifice must be made so we can get our power back, because it is bigger than sport. It's about power.
These are people who are
Damn, there you go. She said it. She said that you guys, they don't care about these kids, about their power.
18, 19, and 20 years old. So I think it sounds ridiculous to say, oh my God, these athletes are too young today when folks damn sure weren't too young who were on the front lines in the 60s.
It's not even about being too young. It's about the fact that people like this guy and whoever that lady was, that y'all are terrible, feckless leaders. That's what it's about. It's about the fact that you want these people to put their livelihoods on the line so y'all can have power, but not actually do anything for the communities. For Democrats to have power in perpetuity, but never actually help to really pull these people up out of poverty. That's what it's about. So you're saying, hey, young brother, young highly melanated American, don't take that NIL deal from Ole Miss. I know it's $400,000 or $500,000, and you come from one of these districts, that have just been gerrymandered, and they're going now. I know, and I know we just had, we had Steve Cohen running your district for 20 years, and I know it was poor, and I know your schools suck, and I know your mama didn't have any money, and I know, hey, your brothers and sisters, they've been terminated in the womb. I know all of these things. But don't go and play for that $400,000 or $500,000 or $1 million, at an SEC school at Ole Miss, to make sure that we can keep you living the exact same way that you grew up. That's what they're saying. These people are ridiculous, and they have no shame, none. And anybody that falls for this, any parent that allows their kid to fall for this, you are hustling backwards. And you should be ashamed of yourself. If I run across anybody that tells me, hey, my son got an offer and I'm thinking about going to an HBCU, which is also funded by the federal government, I might add, I would tell you that you're hustling backwards. Don't do that. And don't be following people like Roly-Poly over here.
Y'all trying to change something that has to do with voting, and y'all targeting the people that vote the least. Not only is the age group 18 to 22, but it's also college football players. If you take a poll on how many college football players, not saying this is a good thing, but if you take a poll on how many college football players vote locally, I promise you that's going to be very, very, very low numbers, like single-digit percent that vote in local elections.
Nah, he's absolutely right. It might be low. It might be lower than the single digit. Most of these youngins, man, they don't care. They don't care what's going on because it ain't really affecting their day-to-day life yet. You don't really start focusing on what's happening, in elections until you get a little older, start paying taxes and bills. Now, granted, the fact, these youngins, they're making some paper, so they are paying some taxes, but they still not concerned with it like that. But the thing is that it's not even really the low voter turnout of young people from 18 to 22. It's really about these people, they have an opportunity to gain a high-quality degree, potentially. Y'all know how I feel about college, but also the NIL money from playing, at these schools, because they're some of the wealthier schools in the nation, and the opportunity to make it to the league. And you have old black folks who are the mouthpiece for racist white liberals telling young black folks, forego or disregard these opportunities so that they can maintain power. Makes absolutely no sense. None whatsoever. And what they don't understand is that for every one of these players that say no, there's going to be other players. There will probably be, Hispanic players. There will be white players. There will be other black players that will take that scholarship and they will take that NIL money gladly. And these people will still be in the same situation that they in, whining, complaining, and every daggone thing else. Don't fall for it, man.
So we're about to do something. We're going to attempt to do something that we hopefully don't get in trouble for, because we're about to go vote. And apparently they took away our voting rights. So let me see what happens. So we've just pulled up to my voting place. I don't think I can record in there, but I definitely can. I'll let y'all know if I get a sticker. So I just been in trouble. I guess it's not illegal. I still have my voting rights.
She went to go vote?
Just finished. So here is my voting sticker. My mom and my sister just finished voting, and Jim Crow didn't come and require a poll tax from us. So I think we still have our voting rights. Crazy thing, there were other black people there voting. And they all had IDs to present. So, where exactly was Jim Crow 2.0?
Yeah, that's why you can't play these people no mind, yo. I want to hear.
No, you can't. These people bogus.
It has come to my attention that AOC has made yet another boneheaded statement by telling people in New York they need to pull up on the South, particularly pull up on Alabama. Oh, sweet baby, you sweet-faced loon. That is not a good idea, and I'm going to tell you why. Listen, we know that they tell you anything because their voter base does not read or research none of that. They could tell y'all anything and y'all will believe it. But I want to issue a stern warning to you. Do not take her advice and pull up on Alabama. I stated in one of my previous videos, we have these things called YNs and we have these things called rednecks, and they will not hesitate to unite. YNs do this thing for fun that they call Swiss cheese in your ass. And I'm going to give you a clue on what that means. That means they turn you into Swiss cheese, a colander, a sifter. They let air out your ass. They do it for fun. Don't ask me. It's just something they do. As far as the rednecks, they can hit a bird going 30 miles per hour because they were hungry and wanted something to eat. They can do it in their sleep. It's what they do. It's their way of having fun. And they will get together and get you out of here. Now, as far as the other dangers of the South, honey, we don't want you to come down here and fall in a wild hog pen. They will never hear from you again. We also don't want you to have to navigate those bayous and those swamps because those gators get to rolling with your ass and your parents will be crying forever. Honey, it's just not a good idea. Now, also on top of that, we got the aunties down here, and we're going to encourage all the foolishness to go on because we weren't bothering nobody. All right? Also, before I go, I want to let you know down here in the South, we don't call cops, we call coroners. All right? I just want to remind you of that. Now, stay your ass up there, leave us alone. We ain't bothering nobody. And don't come down here talking about you want some kind of smoke because we're going to give y'all the smoke and you're going to be looking up wondering what happened. And when I say looking up, I don't mean off the ground, baby. No, I mean in the fashion lift up that eyes. So, just go on, stay up there, leave us alone. We ain't bothering nobody. We don't want no trouble. And don't listen to AOC ever again. You have a good day now here.
What's going on, everybody? Appreciate you guys pulling up today. We got to talk about it, man. AOC, once again, puts her foot all the way in her mouth, and Southerners are going off. Let's call it what it is. Southerners are going off. Just like this young lady. Links, they'll be in the description box below if you want to check out any of these folks that just go slap off on AOC and the Democrat Party. Come on, man. Y'all know what time it is. Hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel. Let's go.
It's time for the North to pull up to the South.
What?
It is time for New York to pull up to Alabama.
Well, honey, you didn't say that right. It's Alabama.
It is time for all of us to come to Georgia, to Louisiana, to Tennessee, to Mississippi.
Come on down.
And let them know exactly what they have uncorked with this injustice.
Oh, you're uncorking something, all right. I don't think you understand the veracity of it. Oh, but you are.
They think they can draw us out of power. They do not know the sleeping giant that they just awakened.
Well, you see, down here in the South, we've been training for this our whole lives. Our parents taught us to hunt and fish, and you know, when you're hunting, you got to be quiet. We know how to do that. I don't think y'all know how to be quiet. So just come on down. Come on down. We're glad to have you. Well, to be quite honest with you, I would say at least 60 to 75% of our youngsters know how to hold one of those high-power rock-throwing things.
No, absolutely right there. I don't think the people in the North really understand the way of life here in the South. And I can say here because, not only was I, born in the South, and I, started learning how to, hold tools, at a young age. Because my grandfather was a hunter, with rifles all in the house, things of that nature. Grew up like that. You knew they're not toys. You don't play with them, but you knew they were all over the place. My grandfather had weapons stashed all over the house. Never left the house without 2 or 3. That's just what we do in the South. What the people up north don't understand is that that's just a way of life down here. And we wasn't bothering y'all. So don't bring your foolishness down this way. Don't bring that. Nobody, hey, y'all gerrymandered like it was nobody's business all up in Northeast. You can't do it anymore. Now you're upset. Now you're upset that, we've decided to fight fire with fire. You don't want those problems, man.
What's up, everybody? Zeke here. So I just finished watching a video of AOC talking about pull up. How she gonna pull up to the South. She want New York to pull up. Have you lost your mind? Have you lost your mind? Do you know what pull up means? Like, I'm from the streets, and I know when you say you about to pull up on somebody, or you tell somebody, well, go ahead, why don't you pull up? That's a threat. That's a legitimate threat. You try and get us all killed? Like, seriously, lady? What are you talking? Have you seen the South? We ain't know. This how I know you ain't from the hood. You ain't from the streets. This is how I know.
Sandy Ocasio is definitely not from the hood. She said that she's from the Bronx, but she's definitely not.
You're not just gonna say pull up like it's just casual. That's a bona fide threat. And you from Yorktown Heights, so you can't just be talking about all of us like you like that.
Hey, she writing checks that she's never gonna have to cash, but she's sure hoping that you guys will.
Like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm about to move to the South. You ain't gonna get my ass beat by a bunch of good old boys and rednecks. And no, you're not about to do that. And just listen, I don't know AOC like that, right? When I moved down there, I don't know AOC like that. Don't be asking me about her. You got to talk to somebody from Yorktown Heights. That's upstate. Because in New York City, anything north of the Bronx is upstate. You got to talk to somebody from Yorktown Heights, tell them come get your girl. I don't know her like that. All right, talking about some pull up. This woman has lost her damn mind.
Yeah, she definitely has. But she's been showcasing that for the better part of, 4 or 5 years. When has AOC said anything intelligent? Seriously, when? And the crazy thing is, she was talking cash money behind bulletproof glass. Are you kidding me? So you want folks to pull up, but you're afraid to get out there and speak? Stop it, I say. Stop it, I say.
Can we talk about the fact that this historically stupid person, AOC, is calling for the North to invade the South? She wants a bunch of people with piercings and blue hair to invade the South, and I don't know what they're supposed to do, become baristas or something, I don't know. But she wants them to tackle the assault on their voting rights because, a lot of states are now starting to redistrict, something that the Democrat Party have been doing for years.
That part.
But now Republicans are starting to do it legally. And people like AOC and Hakeem Jeffries and the whole Democrat cabal are pissed because a lot of them are going to lose their jobs. And rightly so, because what have they done in those districts that they represented for years, black, brown, red, and yellow, and those districts are still bombed out, almost like a bomb was dropped. People like Jasmine Crockett, all of those people like Maxine the Mummy Waters, their districts, look at their districts where they represent black people and brown people and some whites. Look at those districts. They have not progressed under those Democrat leaders.
No, they haven't. All of these places, the districts that he just named, You can add in Jim Clyburn. You can add in Steve Cohen. The districts, they are some of the most dangerous. They're some of the most porous districts in the country. School systems in shambles. But yet, for whatever reason, you got folks out there fighting. What are you fighting for? To keep the neighborhoods dangerous? To keep the district poor? That's what you're fighting for, just so you can maintain power? But the heck with the people in the district that don't know any better, that support you, no matter what, because they just don't know any better? Come on, man. It's ridiculous.
Charlotte, forgive me for noticing, but you're black. How is that possible? I am
plenty black.
I was told, no, they had taken it so race, there's never going to be any black representation in Tennessee.
I know. I don't know what's going on with them, but I want to thank you for inviting me. And I'll tell you what, your team is so professional, so great to work with. I'm excited, and my fans love you.
Thank you. Well, that's great. Well, Charlotte, I make light. I knew before you joined me that you were black. But doesn't it put a point on this? Here is white Steve Cohen saying they're colonizing his district. Here are Democrats freaking out about the prospect, I guess, of a white man no longer representing a black majority district. And here you are. You're one of the leading candidates in the newly redrawn district, and you're black.
I certainly am. And I'll tell you what, me and my supporters are still celebrating because Cohen has dropped out. You see, he never did anything really for the average person in the community. People are paying high food prices. People are walking outside in many instances and getting shot. They want safety in their community. People are tired of paying high taxes, losing their freedoms to government. Hey, I'm here, and people are going to receive the things that they want, and they're tired of being called racist. And in Tennessee, we don't play that. And I just have a word for AOC. If you think you can come down to the South, pull up in the South, girl, you are in trouble. We do not play down here.
I got to get Miss Bergman on the show. I got to make it happen. If any of you guys know this young lady, please get me in touch with her. I got to get on the show. I got to speak to this lady. I have to speak to this young woman. Breath of fresh air. But that just goes to show you. Steve Cohen, and I want to show this to you guys real quick. Look at this. You have 3 black women, 3 black Americans, 3 Americans who happen to be highly melanated. You have Winsome Sears here. You have Tamika Hamilton and Charlotte Bergman here. Democrats will tell you need black representation by voting for Abigail Spanberger or voting for Ami Bera.
Right.
Or voting for Steve Cohen, who happened to have beat Miss Bergman for, I think, 6 times in a row, for the seat down there in District 9 out in Tennessee. Yet these people want to tell you that there's no representation here. It's not about race. It's not. And this right here is just showcasing it. It's showcasing that it's no longer about how much or how little melanin. It's really what side are you on? Are you a Democrat or are you a Republican? They're concerned with Democrat power. They're just using black people once again. That's it. It's just use. They don't do anything for the communities. They don't have any interest. They could care less. And the reason why Pearson is so jacked up and upset is because he thought that he was next. He thought that he was going to get tapped on the shoulder and he was going to automatically become the representative, not going to do anything for that district either. His goal was to go up there to D.C. and take on Trump. Not do anything for his district. No, his job is to take on Trump. Simple as that. That's what he said. That's what he was running on. It's ridiculous, man. Black folks, black Americans, stop allowing these Democrats to play in your face. This right here is an example. Right here. This is an example right here that it is not about.
Right. He represents District 9. District 9 has got representing for 20 years. And you had dude with the afro complaining and tripping about black representation. And here it is right here. But you guys want him still. But he stepped down. So.
About race with these people. It's about Democrat power. And it has been and always will be for them.
What's already happening. The North is pulling up in the South. You've uncorked an unprecedented wave of population, opportunity, jobs, companies in financial prosperity to the South, like Texas, Tennessee, and Florida. You've had Citadel pull up in the South with $6.6 billion of investment. You've had millionaires and billionaires pulling up to the South because Kathy Hochul told them to, as she begs them to come back. California has had over 350 headquarters of corporations pull up to the South. Population pull up to the South. Billionaires and over $1 trillion of wealth has now pulled up to the South. Boeing and Starbucks are now pulling up to the South. They are already doing that because you've uncorked democratic socialism, which is going to be an absolute failure, and they know it. So thank you for all of the money, all of the jobs, all of the opportunity, and the affordable cost of living.
Yes. And that's why so many people are moving down south, because the cost of living, the regulations aren't so restrictive. The taxes are great. Republican governors have put it out there and let it be known, hey, we're open for business. Come here. We'll take you. We're open for business. And the people are fleeing because blue states are awful. There was a time that Democrat states were actually good. And I know there's been people that pulled up and was like, oh, Democrat states have been great. That was a time, but that time is long gone. And Democrat states are.
And then October. Is cracking, and one woman's spectacular collapse tells the entire story. Right now, in the most reliably blue state in the entire country, something is happening that the political establishment desperately does not want you to see. A once mighty Democrat frontrunner has completely and utterly collapsed. But here's what makes this story so much bigger than the fall of just one candidate.
You silly, Jason. Good morning.
The entire Democrat Party is imploding right along with California itself. Stick them in the very end of this video, because what's happening in California right now is not just a story about one election. It's a story about what happens when lunatic Democrats run out of other people's money, other people's patience, and other people's goodwill all at the same time. You're not going to want to miss this. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your patron professor, enjoying yet another glorious day in the Trumpian golden age that you made possible back in November of 2024. So if you want a front row seat on how you continue to change the world in ways you never even imagined, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Katie Porter. She was the left's great hope for California, the UC Irvine law professor turned progressive congresswoman who became the most beloved figure of MSNBC, the embodiment of the new progressive elite, who was once the frontrunner in a gubernatorial race that the legacy media declared her destined to win. Betting markets actually had her odds of becoming governor at an astonishing 40%, nearly double her nearest competitor. She was, by every mainstream media account, the inevitable Democrat nominee, the woman who would take Gavin Newsom's sacramental throne and continue the progressive experiment that California's ruling class has been running for 3 uninterrupted decades. And then October of 2025 arrived, and the real Katie Porter showed up.
Prematurely to air pollution and other problems, and the state could lose. Get out of my fucking shot!
I wanted to tell you that that's actually correct. It's not that it's electric vehicles, it's that you don't need the commitments under the Paris Climate Accord.
Okay, it does. Okay, you also were in my shot before that. Stay out of my shot. Okay, I'm going to start again with electric vehicles saving us money.
Yeah, it turns out she was a psycho. She's an absolute psycho. She's a nut. Now, keep in mind, she was speaking there to the California Department of Energy in that clip, I guess via Zoom. The Department of Energy knew this happened, and they edited it out anyway. They scrubbed it from the public record because the progressive establishment had been protecting Katie Porter from the exposure of her own character for years, until they simply couldn't hide it anymore. And that's largely because of interviews like this.
We've also asked the other candidates, do you think you need any of those 40% of California voters to win? And you're saying, no, you don't.
No, I'm saying I'm going to try to win every vote I can. And what I'm saying to you is that
Well, to those voters, okay, so you...
I don't want to keep doing this. I'm going to call it. Thank you.
You're not going to do the interview with us?
Nope, not like this. I'm not. Not with 7 follow-ups to every single question you ask.
Every other candidate has answered.
I don't care.
Follow-ups.
I don't care. I want to have a pleasant, positive conversation, which you ask me about every issue on this list. And if every question you're going to make up a follow-up question, then we're never going to get there.
Ms.
And
Porter,
we're just going to circle around.
I am an investigative
I have never had to do
reporter.
this before, ever.
You've never had to have a conversation with
to end
a
an
reporter?
interview.
Okay, but every other candidate has done this.
What part of I'm me? I'm running for governor because I'm a leader. So I am going to make...
So you're not going to answer questions from reporters? Okay, why don't we go through? I will continue to ask follow-up questions because that's my job as a journalist, but I will go through and ask these, and if you don't want to answer, you don't want to answer. So nearly every legislative...
I don't want to have an unhappy experience with you, and I don't want this all on camera.
I don't want to have an unhappy experience with you either. I would love to continue to ask these questions.
Well, unfortunately for Katie Porter, the entire campaign has become an unhappy experience. Her polling has completely collapsed. It's plunged to just single digits. She's actually now tied for last. She's gone from first to last. Now, here's where most political commentators would stop and say, well, that's a shame about Katie Porter's temperament issues and move on to the next story. But that would be actually missing the real story here, because Katie Porter's collapse isn't just a story about one bad week of optics. It's a symptom of something far deeper, far more systemic, and far more consequential, not just for California, but I would argue for the entire American left. You see, Katie Porter was not a deviation from the California Democrat Party. She was its most perfect expression. I mean, think about the arrogance towards voters who disagree with her. That is California Democrat governance. The fury at being held accountable. That is California Democrat governance. The belief that if you have the right credentials and the right ideology, you don't owe explanations to anyone, not to a reporter, not to a staffer, certainly not to the 40% of your state that voted for Donald Trump. That is California Democrat governance. And after 30 years of one-party dominance, 30 years of elections that were never in doubt, 30 years of being completely insulated from the consequences of their own decisions, California Democrats have produced a state that is, by virtually every measurable standard, an absolute catastrophe. And speaking of California catastrophes, let me ask you, what do you think you could do if you had the same insider trading information that Nancy Pelosi has, right? You know exactly what I'm talking about. Politicians like Nancy have had access to insider trading secrets for decades now. They know exactly what stocks to buy and when to buy them. But guess what? You and I actually have access to that very same inside information. Bet you didn't know that. Thanks to a little-known SEC database, we can see what and when corporate CEOs are buying up in real time, and then we get to piggyback on their trades to gain the same advantage for ourselves. Gang, that's why you've got to click on the link below and sign up for a free training with me and my good friend Ross Gibbons. It's this Thursday, May 28th at 3 p.m. Eastern. Ross is an insider trading expert whose recommendations have led to investment returns of over 200%. You heard that right, too. Actually, some have hit as high as nearly 1,500%. Aggressive project when Governor Newsom completed the final phase of expansion in January 2024, making California the first state in the nation to offer free, full-scope health care to all low-income residents, regardless of immigration status. Every progressive in America cheered. The New York Times wrote glowing features, and Democrats across the country pointed to California as the model for what they wanted to do for the nation. By 2025, nearly 1.7 million illegal migrants had enrolled in Medi-Cal alone, and the costs, which progressive economists had solemnly assured everyone would be manageable, exploded. And they didn't just explode, they exploded past every projection by billions, leaving the state staring down a $12 billion budget deficit. And you know the irony of it all? The hilarious hypocrisy, I guess. What did Gavin Newsom do? You know how he resolved that deficit? He knocked the illegal immigrants off the program. I kid you not. I kid you. He froze new adult enrollment for illegal migrants starting January this year, and he imposed monthly premiums on those already enrolled. The California legislature, which prides itself on being the most progressive governing body in the Western Hemisphere, quietly approved the rollback precisely because the policy that they had championed became such an obvious and embarrassing liability. They simply couldn't afford to keep paying for it. And while all this was unfolding, the Trump administration hit California with what it called the largest ever federal Medicaid funding freeze, suspending $1.1 billion in Medicaid reimbursements over fraud concerns in California's home health program. So the state that was supposed to show America what progressive governance could achieve is now in the midst of a full-scale fiscal collapse, 30 years in the making, and the bill has finally arrived. And in the end, think about who are the ones who end up paying for it. Do you think Katie Porter pays for it? You think illegal migrants pay for it? No. Regular California people, ironically, who've been voting Democrat their entire lives. People who are paying $7 at the gas pump, who watch their neighborhoods turn into open-air homeless encampments while their elected officials debated the language around unhoused community members, and who watched the Pacific Palisades burn to the ground while the city of Los Angeles had already cut the fire department's budget by $17 million and redirected it to homeless services, all the while their mayor was partying in Ghana. These Californians are no longer willing to simply accept the Democrat monopoly as a fact of nature. And the evidence of that shift is literally everywhere you look. Enter Spencer Pratt, former reality TV star from the Hills. He announced his candidacy as an independent for Los Angeles mayor, and virtually everyone in the political establishment originally laughed, except for the voters. By March, Pratt had rocketed to second place in the polls, and now the betting markets actually have him surpassing incumbent Mayor Karen Bass. But if you want real proof, take a look at where the money's going. Pratt's raised nearly $3 million for his mayoral bid. That's 10 times what Mayor Karen Bass has raised. And it's all because of two reasons. Pratt's excellent campaign that's featuring some of the best campaign ads ever made. Those AI campaign ads are gold. And Karen Bass's embarrassing incompetence as one of the worst mayors in LA's history. And that's saying something. The voters of Los Angeles, even in one of the most left-leaning cities on earth, looked at the wreckage of her 4 years, especially the literal burned-out wreckage of the Palisades fires, and they're deciding they'd rather take a chance on a reality TV star than extend the benefit of the doubt to a Democrat establishment that has demonstrated repeatedly and conclusively that it simply cannot govern the state it has held hostage for 30 uninterrupted years. And then, of course, there is the governor's race, perhaps the most stunning political development of all. Steve Hilton, a British-born...
It's crazy. They ain't talking about no illegals no more. They ain't talking about ICE no more. That's crazy. Like, share, and subscribe, everybody. You notice it's been quiet about the whole ICE. ICE still working. ICE still out there. We still got immigrants in this country, and they doing their job. Now that's quiet. You don't hear about it no more. Now it's about we can't vote as blacks or brown. You serious? Come on, y'all. Pay attention. Pay attention.
Former Fox News host who served in David Cameron's government at 10 Downing Street is running a credible, polling-leading campaign for governor of California. Not just any Republican, mind you. A policy-focused, solutions-oriented candidate who talks about gasoline prices, the cost of living, housing affordability, and the business exodus from California in terms that resonate with ordinary voters who've been priced out, burned out, or simply worn out by 30 years of progressive mismanagement. And something really seems to be happening. I mean, take a look at the early voting. At this time, in their last mayoral and gubernatorial election back in 2022, Democrats had cast 54% of the early vote and Republicans 26%, almost 2 to 1. Look at it now. Democrats have dropped to just 42%, while Republicans have surged to near parity 37%. That's an 11-point gain since their last election at this time and that election. So with a week to go before the primaries, maybe, just maybe, there is hope for California after all. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section below. And as always, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button for breaking news and analysis you're not going to get anywhere else. Love you guys. Okay.
Of dignity, an heir to Fidel Castro, and as long as there is a single Cuban man or woman with a raised fist, that infamy will be repelled.
Here's what I can tell you. Cuba not only has weapons that they've acquired from Russia and China over the years, but they also host Russian and Chinese intelligence presence in their country, not far from where we're standing right now.
Other presidents have looked at this for 50, 60 years doing something, and it looks like I'll be the one that does it.
The CIA director was in Havana recently, and look who he brought. He brought with him one of the leaders of the raid that captured Venezuela's dictator. And what nobody's talking about is, although it's clear another extraction operation is definitely on the table, this could all be a smokescreen for something else. After all, we've been hearing for months about how Cuba's island is on the verge of a total collapse. In fact, things are so bad, the communists recently capitulated, agreeing to accept a $100 million aid package courtesy of the United States, which they promised they would never do because of one condition in that package, which might collapse their entire regime without firing a shot, especially if their leaders vanish at the exact same time. So this aid package, the Cuban government is not allowed to touch.
This will be the last video of the day, you guys. I'll be back tomorrow. Appreciate you guys being in the chat. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. Thank you. Let's continue. And it's about 2 hours and 56 minutes. So, yeah.
Touch it. They're not allowed to distribute it. It has to be given to private organizations within Cuba like the Catholic Church, and they're the ones that are going to feed and help the Cuban people. Which means for the first time in decades, someone else will be the visible source of sustenance for a population that lacks it. And that source will not be the despotic government that rules over this island or their radical military, both of which are scrambling right now because the problem with communism is that any power structure that benefits the people is a challenge. And once a challenge to the communist status quo pops up, the regime immediately starts to lose total control. And if a religious organization, a private business, or an opposition political party succeeds in anything the people view favorably, the pieces are in place for regime implosion. And that brings us to the real reason aircraft carriers are now parked right in front of Havana, and why the CIA director just brought the people that were involved in the Maduro raid to meet the Cuban government. This is a direct challenge to the legitimacy of that government. And this is something no U.S. president has ever done before. And if an all-powerful justice system swoops in at 2 o'clock in the morning and holds their former dictator accountable for crimes, that right there takes a sledgehammer to the crumbling foundation of this dictatorship, which has imprisoned its population for decades, trapping them in a cycle of poverty there's no escape from. Now, this doesn't eliminate the idea of an invasion of Cuba. This doesn't mean there will not be strikes against their military. Those things could all happen, but listen to the president explain why the aircraft carriers are so important.
Regarding Cuba, there was an aircraft carrier that just arrived there this week. This aircraft carrier. Are you sending that there to intimidate the Cuban government?
No, not at all. The Cuba, look, it's a failed country. Everybody knows it. They don't have electricity. They don't have money. They don't have really anything. They don't have food. And we're going to help them along, and we're going to help them because the people, because number one, I want to help them. I don't want to on a humanitarian basis, but we have the Cuban American population, much of it living in Miami and Florida. That's a great group of people, amazing group of people, industrious, they're great Americans. They've wanted this to happen. They want to go back to their country. They want to help their country. I hope they're going to stay here, but they want to go back. They want to invest in their country and, see if they can bring it back.
So here's the question the carrier answers. How do you help the Cuban people who are trapped in their country, cannot leave, cannot get food, cannot get help. How do you help them if the regime in charge of that island has total power over them? Well, you bring in the aid and you bring in the carriers to watch and see what happens. This is accountability 101, something Cuba's leaders have never faced before. Certainly not from the Russians, who are all too happy to use their little island 90 miles south of Florida to project power and try to influence and mess with the United States. Oh no, they don't care about accountability. But President Trump's different. He's not trying to shake hands with this regime and appease them like President Obama did in his eerily Chamberlain-esque style just a few years ago, attempting to normalize relations with a regime that's anything but normal and harbors hostile intent towards everyone around them. And now the idea that the people running this country could face justice for crimes they have committed is a signal that everybody in Cuba better shape up fast, and they better start working with the United States to save their own people from the humanitarian disaster communism has created. But that's not the only disaster Cuba has brought to bear in our hemisphere.
Here's what I can tell you. Cuba not only has weapons that they've acquired from Russia and China over the years, but they also host Russian and Chinese intelligence presence in their country, not far from where we're standing right now. So Cuba's always posed a national security threat to the United States. They, by the way, have been one of the leading sponsors of terrorism in the entire region. You look at the groups that work out of Colombia that have destabilized that country over the years with full support from this regime over there. So Cuba's consistently posed a threat to the national security of the United States. And the other thing that poses a threat to the national security of the United States is to have a failed state 90 miles from our shores run by friends of our adversaries.
And the reason that's a problem, not just for the United States, as you heard, but for other countries in South America. Cuba is bad news for our entire hemisphere. They are a safety and security risk for multiple countries, especially us, because they are essentially a home base for our enemies right on our doorstep, as they have always been. That's the one thing they've traded for their free oil and free support. But while you see all these U.S. carriers and you look at the successful Operation Epic Fury happening in Iran, there are some people who think that even in the face of the might of the revitalized U.S. military under President Trump, that Cuba has an ace up its sleeve that could totally wipe out any offensive capability the U.S. has by devastating our economy. And some people say this is why we should leave Cuba alone and just let them continue being a regime.
Reports of a potential threat to our nation from Cuba. Axios is reporting the communist island nation is buying attack drones from Russia and Iran. So far, some 300 drones. And the communist government of Cuba recently began discussing plans to potentially use those drones to attack U.S. targets, including Guantanamo Bay and possibly Key West, Florida. Here's retired Navy SEAL Mike Sorelli.
So before we get into the analysis of this drone threat, you've got to understand something. The idea that something could be launched at the United States from Cuba is not a new idea. And there are things that fly faster than drones, further than drones, and are harder to stop, which Cuba has had access to for quite some time. So the idea of a threat against the continental United States has always been there. But now that it's drones, some people are looking at that and saying, oh, see, Trump is getting our country into another big problem. Trump can't stop the drones. It's over because they're a new thing. But listen to this.
The drones are concerning one sourced by both Russia and Iran. Would Cuba make the fundamental mistake of attacking the United States? It would be their doom. For Cuba, what Trump has done is put them into a position where this regime can fall without a shot fired. We saw Maduro and Venezuela go down. Now Iran, another source of financing and material support for Cuba. They are isolated. The best scenario for them is to play ball, or they will lose this regime.
Wow. So this former Navy SEAL says, look, these drones, not a big deal. They're out there, yes. Are they concerning? Yes. But they're not something the United States is going to be easily defeated by. And if the Cuban government launches any sort of attack whatsoever, it's going to be the immediate end of their regime, and it's going to happen faster for them and be worse for them unless they just decide to play ball. They should play ball with the United States. There should be a peaceful transition here. If this government decides to rise up and fight back and do things to its own people and to try to hurt people in other countries, the end will not be good for them. What does that look like? Does it look like boots on the ground? Does it look like strikes in Havana against military targets? Who knows? It hasn't happened yet. We really don't know if their threat would even get through a U.S. naval armada that has countermeasures against these things. And here's how we know the drone threat is being blown way out of proportion.
It's hard to believe that even the 300 drones that they have, and I've actually seen pictures of what they look like, would have the capabilities of penetrating our air defense and actually hitting sovereign American territory. However, it's something you have to take seriously. You know that they have, there's reports that Iranian, people have come to the country and are teaching them on their technology and how it succeeded in Iran in trying to maintain control of Hormuz and strike U.S. bases. So they're collaborating with our enemies, and they've been collaborating with our enemies, whether it's China or Russia, for decades. Remember that Russia taught Cubans how to spy through KGB training, and that China has been using Cuba as a spy base just 90 miles away. So none of this makes us feel good, and I think Secretary Rubio and his team have done an excellent job.
So this is the former mayor of Miami, and he did say a lot here, but the drones aren't the thing we should be worried about. The thing that we should be worried about in America is a home base for America's enemies right on its doorstep. And that's the same problem that Cuba has always posed to our country. This is the same power projection base they've always given countries like Russia, who are not our friends on the world stage whatsoever. That's the threat going on here. And then we find out that the same people running this island are causing mayhem all over Central and South America, destabilizing other countries, teaming up with cartels and gangs like they were doing in Venezuela with Maduro. You can't have a failed state that benefits off crime and corruption and commits crime itself.
How you doing, Sensitive Charger? You right, man. Bomb their ass.
And just let that stand.
That's
bad
us.
for everybody. That is bad for the law-abiding. That is bad for people who want to get ahead in life. And that's very bad for people on Cuba, on that island, who can't do any of that stuff.
My father, of course, was the first Cuban mayor of Miami. My father was the first Cuban mayor of Miami. His father was jailed by Castro. So we have a long history of opposing the Castro regime and the communist regimes. Why? Because we understand fundamentally that it does absolutely nothing for the Cuban people. The per capita income of Cubans is $5,000 a year. Of course, what we've seen in the Cuban diaspora, in the exile community in Miami, is a community that's thriving. Miami has the lowest unemployment in America, the highest median wage growth in America. So what's happening? We've embraced American exceptionalism.
You know what? This totally blows communism out of the water right here. The fact that you've got the exact same people living 90 miles away from each other, and in one country, they're the poorest in the entire world, and in another country, they're the most successful in the entire world. I mean, come on. This is like everything you need to know about how Cuba's communist government has failed. And it's not the fault of the people. The people are some of the smartest people on earth. And it's not just that you've got a regime here run by criminals. You've got a regime here run by criminals that has embraced a system that impoverishes its people and keeps them in subjection to that government for their entire lives. It is not America's fault that Cuba has failed. It is the fault of communism that Cuba has failed. If Cuba were capitalist, it would be like Miami, but it's not. And look, if you're better off in another country than in your home country, that's a problem. And as you're about to see, that problem is about to come to an end as our Secretary of State, who's also a Cuban American, is taking things a step further. Listen to this.
Pero sé que hoy ustedes, quienes llaman a la isla su hogar, atraviesan dificultades inimaginables. Hoy quiero compartirles la verdad sobre el motivo de su sufrimiento y quiero contarles lo que nosotros en los Estados Unidos le ofrecemos para ayudarlos no solo a aliviar la crisis actual, sino también a construir un futuro mejor. La razón por la que se ven obligados a sobrevivir 22 horas al día sin electricidad no se debe a un bloqueo petrolero por parte de Estados Unidos. Como ustedes saben mejor que nadie, llevan años sufriendo de apagones. La verdadera razón por la que no tienen electricidad, combustible ni alimentos es porque quienes controlan su país han saqueado miles de millones de dólares, pero nada ha sido utilizado para ayudar al pueblo. Hace 30 años, Raúl Castro fundó una empresa llamada GAESA. Esta empresa es propiedad de las Fuerzas Armadas y está operada por ellos y cuenta con ingresos 3 veces superiores al presupuesto de su gobierno actual. Hoy, mientras ustedes sufren, estos empresarios tienen $18 mil millones de dólares.
Look at that. So, you have a communist government that controls its entire population, and it allows one business to exist, which is run by the regime leaders and the military, And that is the entity making all the deals, bringing in all the money, controlling everything, enriching itself while everybody else suffers. That's how communism works. The people at the top, they're always in favor. They always preach it because you know why? All the money goes to them. It doesn't go to anybody else. And the Secretary of State is reminding people in Cuba that, hey, despite the propaganda from your leaders that says that, hey, all of your hardships are the fault of the United States. I mean, you know you've had these blackouts for years. There have been uprisings in Cuba many, many times, and they have never been successful. Food has always been a problem in Cuba. Why? Because the system they have there does not allow them to buy food. The system they had there relied on free oil from Venezuela. The system they had there relied on being a base where the Russians could project power in our hemisphere in exchange for keeping these guys afloat and giving them a perpetual lifeline. Well, now that lifeline is over.
$8,000 millones de dólares obtienen ganancias de hoteles, construcciones, bancos, tiendas y incluso del dinero que sus familiares le envían desde Estados Unidos. Todo pasa por sus manos. De esas remesas ellos retienen un porcentaje, pero de las ganancias de Gaesa, nada llega.
That's terrible.
En vez de usar el dinero para
They're stealing from the relatives.
como todos los otros países del mundo, dependieron del petróleo gratis de Hugo Chávez y Maduro para quedarse con el dinero. Pero ahora que dejó de llegarles el petróleo gratis, ellos compran combustible para sus generadores y sus vehículos, mientras que el pueblo se les pide que se sacrifique.
That's so sad.
En vez de usar el dinero para mantener y modernizar las centrales eléctricas, usan el dinero para construir más hoteles para extranjeros, para enviar a sus familiares a vivir con lujos en Madrid y incluso hasta aquí en Estados Unidos.
This is why the fall of Venezuela has been so instrumental in the current situation in Cuba. That regime was part of a regime support network between Cuba, Venezuela, and Iran. All three of these puppet states of Russia have been keeping each other afloat, evading sanctions together, fueling each other, spreading corruption together, training with each other.
All right, you guys will be back tomorrow. This is crazy what's going on. You gotta stay prayed up. God is in control. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. And I'll do a video later on today, a reaction video. See what's going on around here. Check it out.